Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlog Banter. My name is Tucker Hazel. This is Abram Buhner, and today we're here to talk about our top 23 games of 2023 for the last, 3 years, 4 years?
Three,
yeah. We didn't have BLB in 2019.
No.
For the last 3 years, we've been doing our top blank games of the 20 blank year. Insert the similar number there. And so it's going to be crazy in a couple years. It's already a little bit long, but it only grows incrementally. And of course, we're going to have more and more free time as we grow.
True. As we retire.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we're doing the top 74 games of 2074 and we're in a home.
I can't wait for it.
We got so much time.
We're in a home now.
That's true. We're actually living in the same home now.
But Aiden, we are now living in the same home. BLB has changed forever. It'll never be the same. And we have played a lot of games in the year of our Lord 2023, which we are no longer in. Rest in peace, 2023. That was the best year of 2023, I think. Top year of 2023.
That's fair enough.
But, Abram, we've played 23 games apiece, actually a little more. But
we both played a lot more.
We've picked and chooseth the top 23 games that we played last year. And we're doing this, Abram, what we call it? Donkey style.
Yes.
Donkey style, which means it's not only games that came out last year. I played a lot of great games that came out last year. Most of those are going to be near the top of my list, but we're also including any games we played last year. So there's going to be a mixture.
I will say for myself, big caveat, the point of this video for me is to celebrate the new experiences I had.
Yes.
So I am not including any replays, even though if you just my raw top 23 games is about half replays.
Yeah.
Because I love a good replay, but I just excluded them from the list for this purpose. And I also excluded Metroid Prime Remastered for a similar reason, because I talked extensively about how much I love Metroid Prime in the past. Mm-hmm. That is my third favorite game of 2023.
Yes.
Of the calendar year. Their games released that year. But for the sake of this video, it's not on the list.
Yeah. And I don't have that problem because I don't replay games, which is great. It's better actually. But let's start with a couple of honorable mentions because I played so many games that I want to bring up.
Sure.
Especially because we stopped doing Backlog Banter.
Yes.
There's a lot of games I haven't gotten a chance to talk about. There's a couple I just want to mention, but you also have some, I think?
Yeah, I just want to shout out a couple things that literally just barely missed my list.
Sure.
Doom 2016.
Oh, yeah,
I've tried many times since the game released to see it all the way through. It took until this year for it to really click for me, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that was a really good game. I also want to shout out for a similar reason, actually, Next Level Games Punch-Out, a series I've always just kind of tried and thought was fine, but I really got into the Wii Punch-Out this year.
Sure.
I saw it through, and I really enjoyed it. And the last honorable mention I'm going to give is to Elite Beat Agents.
Oh, yeah. That's a fun game.
It's a really fun game.
Yeah, it's on my list as well.
It's so goofy. I mean, I don't have connection to almost any of the music in there.
No, yeah. YMCA is in there. You've heard that song, and you go there.
Yeah.
I mean, now you have personal connection.
I do. I mean, you play Elite Beat Agents, and I am familiar with a lot of the music, but it just doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot to me. But
sure,
the scenarios are so ridiculous. The rhythm gameplay is really tactile, so I want to shout that out. And then there's a couple other games, but I actually think they're going to be on your list proper.
Oh, sure.
So I'm not going to mention them. If we get to the end and we haven't, I will bring them back up.
I've got a lot of games that I know you won't bring up. Because I've played a lot of horse shit this year, but horse shit in a good way. In previous years,
you love shit.
There was... Yes. In previous years, there would be a lot of games that I played, and there were a lot this year that are, I'm not that interested in it, but I actually found myself gravitating towards a lot of Stranger Things, not the show game, no. Stranger Games, which is what they should have called the game. The Stranger Things game.
Sure.
That I actually really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Games like Pursuit Force, Extreme Justice.
Fair enough.
Didn't make my list, but I can't not mention it. Yeah. You know, the Space Channel 5 games. I played both of those. They're both fantastic.
Yeah.
They don't quite cross my list. Let's Tap. We played Let's Tap together.
Yeah, Let's Tap is great.
Doesn't make my list, but I have to mention that we played Let's Tap in 2023, and it's a very, very good time.
To be clear, for people who don't know, Let's Tap is a Wii game from Yuji Naka, where you control the game by literally tapping the space around your Wii remote.
Yes.
It's a very, very clever game.
Let's see. Fantavision.
Yeah.
Fantavision? No one cares about Fantavision. I played a lot of the game for whatever reason. the Big Brain Academy games. I played both Big Brain Academy on DS and Big Brain Academy Wii Degree on Wii, and I love those games. I think they're both fantastic, and I'm just saving that Switch one, Brain versus Brain.
Which I haven't played.
Yeah, which I have back there.
Yeah.
And those were a lot of fun. Humanity did not quite make my list, but great game.
Yeah.
It gets better as it goes. And then the last one I want to bring up is Fortnite. Because I played about 40 hours of Fortnite last month.
Sure.
And before that, I'd probably played 2 hours of Fortnite in my life. And I played it basically daily with my brother. And honestly, I expect to be even more into Fortnite by the end of next year. Because when I play that game, I'm like, it's actually a very, very well-designed, good game. Even on Switch, where it runs and looks like hot dog water, it was still a ton of fun. And just one of my favorite gaming experiences last year.
I mean, I think Fortnite is one of those, I apologize, I wasn't familiar with their game type of situations.
For me, absolutely. Yeah. But
I want to actually give one more. I remembered it. Because it's not going to be on your list. I want to shout out Suika game. Obviously,
yeah.
Big viral hit last year. I played it quite extensively.
It's fun.
I never quite hit 3,000. I think I got to 28 about, and then I lost and got angry. I think Suika almost perfectly nails the horse shit to skill ratio.
Sure.
That makes a lot of like falling block puzzlers fun. Shout out to that dev who I think is a solo dev and is a fucking multimillionaire.
Yes,
now.
absolutely.
So I just want to shout it out. It's a fun game.
Now, should I start then?
Yeah, you start.
My 23rd favorite game of 2023 is Street Fighter VI. Goddamn, what a good game. I love that cast. I love the art style, the way that they really expanded on what Street Fighter is by introducing the hub and the different training modes and the single player, which is not very good, but they have it in there. And especially for me, the shit ass dumbass control scheme that allows me to actually play the game competently because it feels like Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
And it really just showed me that there is a lot of fun to be had in traditional 2D fighting games that outside of Smash Brothers isn't a traditional game, but that's really the only fighting game I really enjoyed. That and things like ARMS. But Street Fighter 6 is a traditional 2D fighting game, and it revitalized Street Fighter. It, for me, really revitalized my interest in the fighting game genre, and me and my friends were just obsessed with that game for like an entire month.
Yeah, I mean, I this is another one I would have given an honorable mention to, but I knew it was going to be on your list.
Yeah.
I played
Where is it on your list, actually?
It's not on this list. This is the games I completed.
Oh. So it actually might have been in your top 23.
I was thinking of this. I still don't think it would have quite cracked it for me.
Okay.
I mean, I had a lot of if we'd been living together when the game came out, it would be on my list. Even just a couple when I was visiting last summer and we did play it together. That's great. I mean, I've always wanted to be more into fighting games, but just couldn't because I don't have that muscle memory for those games. So I enjoyed it. It's still not a genre.
Your muscle memory goes to other things.
Yeah, it does. It's still not my genre.
Yeah,
but the fact that it got me in the door, it's the same as you. It's
absolutely
exceptional.
Yeah.
It's an exceptional game.
Go.
I thought it was my turn. I thought it was the voice's turn. My 23rd game is Rhythm Tengoku.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the first Rhythm Heaven game. That is the one on GBA, which is the unlocalized one. Only came out in Japan, and then was the basis for Rhythm Heaven. Mm-hmm. I think they're completely separate games, though. So I don't want to misconstrue there. They are completely separate games.
Because the
touchscreen.
You use a touchscreen. Yes, yeah.
But the cons, it doesn't matter. Lots of semantics. This is a really exceptional game, especially for the time. I can only imagine how clever it would have been to be playing that first Rhythm Heaven game on GBA back in, I don't remember this release, I think 2002.
Click on it.
I guess I could, if you want.
Find out. 2006. That's actually pretty different.
Right, no, of course. The reason I said what I said is because this game was not localized because it released so late.
Sure.
That Iwata didn't see the merit in localizing the game, which is what led to there being a worldwide Rhythm Heaven game in 2009 on DS. But this game is very interesting. It is so irreverent and strange. I really want to be more into Rhythm Heaven. And so I wanted to go back to the beginning and start from there. I'm really bad at these games because I don't have a sense of rhythm at all.
No.
So it was really fun. Part of the reason this is on here is because I played it with Jean.
Oh, interesting.
Who has really good rhythm. So we were going back and forth, and by back and forth, I would try a game 2 or 3 times, fail it, get upset. She'd beat it first try.
Yeah.
We'd go back and forth. So I'm really excited to play Mega Mix this year.
Oh, you have that one.
I have Mega Mix.
Yeah, that's the 3DS one, right?
Yeah, that's
yeah.
the 3DS
You own that one.
compilation.
I've played that through your 3DS.
I wish we had Fever, but
no, that game costs $1 billion.
It's like $300 for an unsealed copy.
Aaron, Excitebot Trick Racing
Yeah.
is a phenomenal racing game, and I would contest, at least for me, on a very subjective level, the best racing game Nintendo has ever produced. The idea of having physics-based racing that is there's so much physics that the map ceases to matter is such a freeing way to approach design of a racing game. And for those who don't know, the team known as Monster Games produced. Actually, you know what? You get them. Prop comedy, baby.
We have them in our Wii collection back here.
Yeah, we actually have a lot of the games we've mentioned today.
Yeah,
we will be mentioning today. Yeah, Monster Games made Excite Truck, which was one of 3 Nintendo published launch games for the Wii, alongside Wii Sports and Twilight Princess, games that people know and care about and are revered. Excite Trucks, not so much. I didn't know this game existed. But then a couple years later, they did the same game again, called Excite Bots, just better in every single way.
Literally, the basis of the tracks is the same.
Yeah, no, the visuals are the same, the menus are the same, the structure of the game is the same. But in Excite Bots, you play not as just trucks, like literally like Chevy trucks.
Yeah.
No, this one says MG Lights on it. That's not a real brand.
No.
But they are basically like realistic trucks. Yeah. In this, you play as ostensibly Transformers. They are little cars that can transform into a frog or a scorpion or a bird or something like that.
Well, to be clear, your car is a frog, and then it becomes a frog on two legs.
True.
Yeah.
Or
a turtle.
Yeah, basically.
A grasshopper.
But you also have mini games during the race, which I think is really the thing that knocks it over the edge to me. Yeah. Like, this is so special. In order to get a boost, you're always trying to chase doing tricks, which, a lot of racing games will have that. You'll do a trick, you'll get a boost of speed. But you can also throw darts, you can go bowling, you can hit a home run, you can do a tambourine. It's so fucking clever.
Yes.
And the physics are so good, and the motion controls of tilting your Wii remote around, it just works so well, and you're always just moving your Wii remote around in crazy ways to like continue the momentum. It's such a visceral and fast, and it runs great and looks great on Wii. Of course, it is a low resolution game because the hardware is low resolution, but for the hardware, it looks really fantastic and runs very, very well.
Yeah.
I think it is all around a really, really great and incredibly overlooked game.
Yeah, it's very fast, it's very accessible, it's very strange. I had this game as a kid, and so I was really excited to be able to introduce it to you, and I'm very, very excited that you loved it as much as you did.
I really did.
I would love to see a game like this come back.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, really of its time and place.
Yeah, sure.
Type of release that
because it is very motion control heavy.
Yeah, it's very motion control heavy. Maybe to its detriment. Sure. I think that playing the game with like a classic controller would be as fun, but a little bit more precise. You can't. I don't believe. But go seek it out. You can get a copy for $15.
Oh yeah, it's very, very affordable.
Yeah, go
and everyone's got a Wii rotting somewhere.
Yeah,
especially you watching this BLB video, you probably go fucking Wii.
If you're watching this, you have a Wii U that you can play it in like fucking native.
Which means that our max subscriber cap is 13 million.
I would love to hit 13 million subscribers.
What's next?
My next game is another game actually in the tradition of my last one, because we're going from Rhythm Heaven to WarioWare.
Oh!
But we're not going to Move It. We're going to WarioWare Touch.
Hey, that's not that far down, actually.
No, WarioWare. No, Move It is,
Comedy. Keep talking.
WarioWare Touched is, of course,
I was going to do Move It. I don't have Move It.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't have Touched.
You don't have Touched.
Oh, yeah. I played that on my R4 card.
Yeah, allegedly. In Minecraft, we use our R4 cards to play this game. But I think that Touched embodies everything that's brilliant about WarioWare. But I think what's interesting about this game and why I enjoy it so much is it's the closest in form factor to Mega Micro games while still being incredibly unique on a hardware level.
Yeah.
So what I mean is you're playing Move It or you're playing Smooth Moves, but you're up and about, you're using your whole body, you're moving all over the place.
Yeah.
When you play Touched, you get the spirit of WarioWare distilled very fast, and you get the fun of the hardware gimmick, but you get it in a way that's, right in the palm of your hands.
Yeah.
So it's to me probably it's this perfect synthesis of portable WarioWare and gimmickry WarioWare.
Sure.
The microphone mini games are not great.
Yeah.
That's the big issue with the title, but I really enjoy it. I think that if you haven't checked it out, you should.
Yeah, no, it's a
I
great
feel
game.
like it goes a little bit under the radar in sort of the pantheon of WarioWare titles.
Yeah, which is a pantheon that also goes under the radar. No one cares.
Yeah, they don't sell very well.
No.
But I love this series, so I'm glad that I checked this off my list. I only have, I think, 2 more to play. I got to play Twisted, which I've only played very briefly.
Yeah. Please put it on NSO. For the love of God.
Please. And I need to play the GameCube one.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That'd be fun to play together, actually.
Yeah. Next up for me, Professor Layton and the Unbound Future. Now, I actually played through Diabolical Box, which is just actually off my list. I played through Curious Village, Diabolical Box, and Unbound Future this year. And Unbound Future is the last of that original trilogy, and it's just absolutely the best. I mean, the story that has been building across the course of the first 3 games culminates in Unbound Future, where the entire thing is about this crazy city that has gone back in time, and everyone can't quite remember. And Professor Layton is working with an older version of Luke, who turns out to be the villain, and then the castle like explodes out of the ground and destroys the city above, and they're flying around in this crazy thing. And this is a puzzle game.
Yeah.
And the puzzles are fantastic. And one of the things that really makes Unbound Future better than the other ones is that you have a little notepad, so you can like keep track of what you're doing on the different puzzles. But Professor Layton, as it stands, is a series I can't wait to see come back with New World of Steam, which is coming 2025, I believe, because Level 5 can't get the shit together, and they're producing 4,000 games.
Yes, well, it's really because Nintendo delayed the Switch too.
But the DS ones are fantastic, and I still have Last Spectre to play, and I still have some of the 3DS ones, but I continue to get more and more into Professor Layton series, as I think they just keep getting better as they go on. I do love Miracle Mask as well, which was on my list in 2020 when we did that list, all the way back then.
I played a very little bit of the first Professor Layton this year just to get a feel for it, and I was really taken by sort of the charm of it. It just wasn't the right time.
The art style's phenomenal.
Yeah, it just wasn't the right time for me to sit down with it. But this year, I really do want to see at least the first one all the way through.
Sure. I mean, I would say just jump into Unbound Future. It's just a better game, and they are the exact same in terms of structure.
Sure.
But this just has better production value, and on a gameplay level, having that notepad, it makes it just so much easier to understand what's going on.
Fortuitous moment. Our next game is the same.
Oh, they're both Cocoon. Now, you have... Oh, that's right. You have Advance Wars there, but you're like, this game's actually not that good, so you moved it down.
I would move it down.
Yes.
I'd move it down.
But Cocoon is next.
Yeah.
Talk about Cocoon.
I think that Cocoon is an exceptional puzzle game, and should say, got the game a little early from the developers for a feature I did.
Yeah, that bumps it up about 20 points,
yes.
I believe.
What I was really reflecting on when I was reflecting on the game and writing my feature about it, and having the privilege of talking with the developers, I think what makes Cocoon to me so interesting is that the game, in my opinion, would be amazing if the orb world gimmick wasn't there.
Okay.
Cocoon is this incredibly realized world that is this mix between like synthetic geometric hard edge design and organic insectoid biomechanical influence, and just being in that world to me is amazing.
Yeah,
and the subtle story cues that come from it.
Sure.
So when you have a foundation that good, and then you put a Portal level puzzle gimmick on top of it, I just think that it is an astounding experience. I think that Cocoon is an astounding game, and the reason for me that it works so well is because I'm a fucking idiot.
Yes. But Cocoon is very easy to understand, even though it feels like it should break your brain.
It doesn't.
This is one of the games that I think should stand in the pantheon and the legacy of puzzle games.
Yeah.
Puzzle games, I would say, are actually one of the genres that hasn't stopped evolving. There's always a new puzzle idea. You get something like Patrick's Parabox last year, or Baba Is You. Like, puzzle games are always evolving, but Cocoon is one of those games that has such a understandable and unique gimmick that nothing else has tried before, that hitting the mainstream like it did, being on Xbox Game Pass, being from the people that created Inside and Limbo, which are good games, but I don't think stand out as much as Cocoon does. Sure. It's like a perfect synthesis of it looks great, it has a very unique sense of style and place, but it also teaches you a mechanic that you feel like should make you feel like an idiot. But wordlessly. It never stops. Absolutely wordlessly, which is another great thing that we talk about in terms of game design and easing you into something, teaching you mechanics without having to say, oh, and now you press the A button. Yeah. No, it's just all through subtle environmental cues and like pings and sound design and stuff like that guide you through this game. And I think I only got stuck like twice maybe. And this is what, a 4 or 5 hour game. So just really smooth, but challenge you. It's on the perfect balance of challenge.
It is one of the biggest dick swinging examples of design.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Maybe period. I mean, it looks more humble than it is. I mean, it's
yes.
fucking astounding what they did with Cocoon. That does mean it's back to me.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
This is another Shaq, I apologize I wasn't familiar with the game moment. Because this is a game that I did not...
You weren't familiar with my game.
Yeah. It's a game I did not enjoy that much at release. But really enjoyed this time, and that's Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. I got a Steam Deck for Christmas. And this was one of the first games I picked up on the sale to give another go to. And I still have issues with the game.
Sure.
The narrative really doesn't do anything for me. I feel like it's actually a little bit repetitive in some ways, a lot of repeated sub-bosses.
Yeah.
I have various problems with the game, but Rift Apart is such an unimpeachable example of beautiful AAA game design to where it's this like almost entirely frictionless, hyper cinematic experience that feels so great in the hand. The combat, as I'm throwing out my topiary sprinklers to turn guys into hedges and then switching to my big shotgun and use my ricochet and my electricity to chain them all together. I mean, it's so creative and so inventive. And then it's taken to the next level, I feel, by this constant sense of self-one-upmanship in the set pieces.
Yeah.
Insomniac goes fucking sicko mode with a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger set piece. It feels like almost every hour.
Yeah.
The game, I think, is paced perfectly.
Oh, absolutely.
It
doesn't outstay its welcome.
No, I beat it in 8 hours. It is, to me, the blueprint for a big AAA blockbuster game.
Yeah.
I think it's really an astounding achievement. And for me, it's definitely my favorite Insomniac game.
Sure, yeah.
I think it's their best game of the modern era.
It's a really fantastic game, and now that you have kind of awakened that yourself to the fact that this is actually a very good game, when you didn't even want to finish it last time. Yeah. This just continues to prove that Insomniac is one of the best developers working right now. Yeah. I mean, they're just pumping out killer game after killer game, and in my opinion, just getting better. I mean, Ratchet and Clank 2016 to this, Rift Apart is, I think, leagues better.
I agree.
It looks better. The Rift mechanic really makes it stand out in terms of using SSD and modern game design and stuff. It's just a polished, phenomenal package. But I talked about the game 2 years ago when it came out. And it was on my list. Exo Primal, baby. Exo Primal should have been in my top 10. Should have been in my top 10, but this was such a good year that it kept getting pushed down. But it's one of the best games that I played this year. I cannot believe how much I enjoyed Exo Primal. I have a full review up on this channel with Bo, who I played most of my time of this game with. But it's the kind of multiplayer game that for me only comes maybe twice a year.
Sure.
But Exo Primal, I think, was really the only one that really grabbed me this year. Street Fighter 6 was playing it with friends, but I didn't get super into it myself, playing it by myself. But Exo Primal was the kind of game where Bo and I would get on for 2 hours, and then I would play for another 6 hours. And then suddenly before I am, I'd be like, uh-oh, I should have gone to bed a while ago. And that is because Exo Primal does the perfect thing. It is a round-based multiplayer game with the repetitive structure that comes with. Yeah. We've all played plenty of games like that. But Exo Primal rewards you for playing those games by giving you story bits and unlocking little lore caches and things that just build up over time to where there is a final boss of this round-based multiplayer game. Yeah. And that is phenomenal. I mean, not only do these round-based multiplayer games basically never have bosses, so Exo Primal stands out from that regard, but the fact that it is narratively, it makes sense in terms of everyone being an Exo fighter and dropping onto the island and the time loop and all of that, which actually quite a bit like Fortnite, which I did not know because I was not aware of Fortnite's story before this last month. And when you get to these big set piece moments and you and 15 other players are fighting against swarms of dinosaurs that are toppling over one another, and you're having to work together and synergize your suit abilities, and then a giant boss drops out of the sky and it's shooting things out, and you're running across the map and reviving your friend, and this is you're working together with a huge group of players. There's nothing like this game. I think it's well designed. I think that the characters are very fun. I think that it's just such a unique idea, and that just got passed over, and it like genuinely this game addicted me. I think I played like 25 hours of this game in like a 4-day period. That's not okay. I shouldn't do that. But I really, really loved Exo Primal, and it's just gone already. Oh well. Yeah. Got some Street Fighter costumes. That's it. Nothing to say?
But
no. Exo Primal?
I hate to say it, but I don't have any comments on Exo Primal. I'll say this. I'm envious of its story structure.
Sure.
Because if my favorite multiplayer games did that, it would be exceptional. So I hope, if anything, that's the legacy Exo Primal leaves behind. I'm going to cheat.
What?
I'm going to cheat. My next entry is 2 games.
Okay.
And that is the Parappa the Rapper duology.
Sure, yeah.
I hold them in about the same regards. I'm going to put them here totally together. Fair. I also play them back to back.
So did I. I played them the same day.
I think that Parappa the Rapper is just... It's so irreverent. And I use the word irreverent a lot, but if you open up the dictionary to irreverent, you're going to actually find Major Minor's Majestical March.
Yeah. Prop comedy.
What the fuck? Where is it? It's there somewhere, right?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, it is.
Major Minor's Majestic March. It sounds like something I shouldn't say.
But if you were to open a better dictionary,
sure,
to irreverent, you would find Parappa the Rapper.
The stack of Wii games keeps growing. Yeah. How many Wii games can we reference in this video?
We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
Oh, I could have brought over Wii Degree.
You could have brought over Let's Tap. We talked about both those games. Yeah, well. You're fucking it up.
Oh well.
I just love the spirit of Parappa the Rapper because to me it shouldn't work. I shouldn't be interested in this garishly colored world where a sunflower...
Not as garish as Major Minor's Majestic
Fair
March.
enough.
This game is incredibly ugly.
I just don't think Parappa should work. I shouldn't care that everything is turned into noodles in the second game. I shouldn't care that everybody's in line for a porta potty in the first. But you just do because it's so earnest. I think the sense of earnestness...
Abram.
Yeah?
Never loaded on sale.
Tucker has gotten, 22 notifications today from PlayStation app about this?
The PlayStation app, I took this game off my wish list. You can't really read it, but I keep getting this game is now on sale from the PlayStation app. I took it off my wish list so they wouldn't send me this notification, and they still keep sending it to me. Every 30 minutes. It's the same game. What the fuck is happening?
I love Parappa the Rapper.
So do I, absolutely. I mean, I'm actually surprised that these games aren't that high on my list because I love them both so much. I think that, for me, the second one is a lot better just because I think it is better balanced. I mean, there's actually problems with, like, the timing of the first game. Like, literally in the code, it sometimes doesn't register. I mean, 2 does not have that issue, and it makes it feel much smoother to play through for me. But also just the creativity of both of them and the ridiculous voice acting and the scenarios that keep getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And the songs are very catchy. And they're both like 2 hours long, which is just really perfect for a way to spend the afternoon and be able to play through again and get better at. It's just, they're the perfect bite-sized rhythm games that you and I seem to have discovered quite a few of this year with me playing Space Channel 5 and you playing Rhythm Heaven and Elite Beat Agents. These are all in that similar vein that I found that I genuinely really, really adore. And Parappa the Rapper, I think, is stitched at the top for that of that for me. Starfield came out this year, and you were the one who was supposed to have this on your list. You were the one who, from square one, were like, this is the greatest thing ever. The art style is phenomenal. I love these Bethesda games. I can't wait. And then I was the one who embraced Starfield and all its weirdness and all its clunkiness. And it's one of my favorite games of this year. I really think that the world that Bethesda created here was so engrossing to me as a future that is still recognizable of human culture and has references to the past. And what the thing that Bethesda is best at creating and was best for me in Starfield is creating these small moments of wandering across the planet, finding this little area, whether it's an enemy encampment or a little village or whatever, and learning about the history of just this one area that if you want, you can spend 10 hours there and you can still be learning things about these characters and their environment and how they relate to someone else on the other side of the galaxy. But this is also a galaxy-spanning adventure. It is very chopped up. That is the thing that I think is the worst element of this game. It is not a seamless world. It's a lot of loading screens, very clunky in terms of the inventories. But the stories that are crafted here, I think, are just phenomenal. I mean, I was sitting here playing this game with my friend, and we went into an underground tenement that has this whole history that I loved learning about on the first big city, which I believe is called New Atlantis. And I went down this elevator, and I was exploring this thing. I found this little alcove, and I went in. I found a dead body on the floor. And me and my friend Sam were sitting there like, what the fuck happened here? And then we read this guy's notes, and he tells a story about how he bought a dog, like a robot dog, from a black market seller, and the black market, he didn't pay the black market seller, so the black market seller like took over the brain of the robot dog and had it kill him in his own apartment. And so then the robot dog busted out of the wall and I had to fight it. And I'm like, that is a fun moment. There was great voice acting from this guy as he was reading out in the voice logs. The fight against the dog was a lot of fun, and it's just those little moments of running into a weird ship. Like, I was over this casino planet, and this ship shows up, and they were like, we didn't know other humans were alive. They'd been living on the ship for 500 years, whatever, and they had generation after generation. And I had to like negotiate between the casino planet and this ship with people that didn't know that other people exist. And I had to like build them a home on the ground, and then I had to like deal with the capitalistic urges of this casino planet. I'm like, there's nothing like that. I've never experienced anything like this before. And it was just moment after moment of that. And then for me, the structure of Starfield with the narrative of becoming Starborn and unlocking multiple replays and parallel universes is just, it is so fucking smart, because people love playing these games again and seeing how different things go, but they wrote that into the narrative here. Yeah. And it creates new game pluses in a way that can always keeps things fresh. And I just saw something on Twitter like a month ago that, again, this was like 4 months after the game came out. Someone ran, like after 400 runs, ran into their character from the first run and then had to have a conversation with them and fought themselves. And it's like, it is a clunky game. It is antiquated in areas, but where the care went into this game is fucking unmatched. Sure. I mean, the production values here, the amazing score by Enon Zur, I think the world design is fantastic. I think it is a genuinely beautiful, thought-provoking, and really well-done game that is just held back in some areas. And it's the perfect example for me of a game doesn't need to be perfect in every area to really stand tall, because it is a flawed game, but it is so strong in the areas that it's strong in that it just obsessed me for like 30 hours.
I think we're going to have to go faster because we have to eat Korean food, and we've only done 5 games each.
Or we record another chunk of this and just make it a 2.5 hour thing. Look at us go. Keep going.
We get the best of both worlds. We get to eat Korean food, and we get to talk about the games for even longer. I like that plan. What? Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe.
What plan?
Plan.
Oh, okay.
Return to Dreamland Deluxe. I anticipated thinking this game was going to be cool. Yeah. But anticipating that I was going to feel that it's inferior to what immediately succeeded it in Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot. And I feel that way in some ways. Yeah. I think that the core campaign, it leaves a little something to be desired. Sure. Yeah. Just in that, I think that the level design is more nuanced in Triple Deluxe, and I think that the conceit of the world of Robobot's just the best. 2D Kirby, but to me, Return to Dreamland Deluxe really is this ultimate package. Sure. Because you get what is still a very good Kirby campaign in the main game. You get a really compelling Magalore episode. Yeah. But the real star of the show for me is Merry Magoland. Sure. I'm always looking for more local multiplayer Nintendo games. Yeah. And I think it's gotten a little bit underappreciated just how robust of an offering Merry Magoland is. Yeah. It's this big...
Why did they make a Kirby party game? They basically did with Merry Magoland, but like, Kirby's known for its micro game. Like, it's a small little side modes. Yeah. Just do it. What are you doing? Come on, Hal.
This is the closest we've ever gotten, for sure. Yeah. And I think it is just an absolute blast. I had so much fun playing this game with Jean. We don't play it as regularly as we play Dream Buffet, which the fact that we play Dream Buffet regularly, I know is strange in its own right. But we had so much fun with these games. The options to run through a selection of them are simple but effective. They're simple but effective progression. I just think that this is really...
It has a Lego Star Wars-esque playable roster of every character that's ever been in Kirby.
Yeah,
I remember opening up things like, I didn't know there were this many characters in Kirby. What the fuck?
It's a really thoughtful tribute to the series, I think. Yeah, and to me, especially when you look at the visual overhaul as well, it really, I think is actually the gold standard maybe for remakes on Switch.
Okay, sure.
HAL, I think, put more into this than they needed to. Yeah. And I really appreciated that.
Their whole Cabercy.
I was trying to come up with some kind of OC, but I couldn't. You did it for me. Really enjoyed the game.
Much better 2D Nintendo game. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is my 18th favorite game of this year, and that is only a testament to how many goddamn amazing games I played this year, because Super Mario Bros. Wonder is one of the best games I ever played. I mean, this is a finely tuned game. It is imaginative to the, I wouldn't even say nth degree, I'd say the nth degree. That's how far it goes.
No, comes before N.
So?
Oh, degree.
I don't care. It can't the nth degree. There's just so many ideas here. It injects life into Mario, and for me, it stands out because it's the first time I've really connected with a 2D Mario game. The things that they added in terms of progression, of unlocking the different badges, and approaching the world in a slightly different way, because you have the pedal aisles in the middle, and you can approach things in different orders, and the different playable characters. There is a sense of progression here that I think many of the previous games lacked, that to me really added that extra layer. I think the online is phenomenal and one of the best innovations that this game has. I think the Wonder Flowers are maybe the smartest idea from a 2D platforming game ever. And it's just gorgeous visual style. I think the music's fantastic. It's just it's the complete package. It is one of the Switch's best games. And we didn't even know it was happening 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Fantastic game. Goddamn.
It doesn't make my list. I don't like the bosses. I don't like the multiplayer. And the game isn't exactly like Super Mario World. So I don't like it.
Next up.
Crash Mole.
What the fuck is Crash Mole?
Thank you for asking the question the audience is asking too. I did prop comedy, was all the way over there.
Yeah, it's very far away.
I got a play date.
If you had arms, you could grab it.
Yeah. If I could...
Arms!
This is a playdate game. And it's my favorite playdate game that I've experienced so far. It's a very, very simple game. It is reverse whack-a-mole. You are the mole. And the paddles or the hammers are coming down. The goal of the game is simply pop out of the hole, don't get hit by the hammer, and every time you do that, you get a point.
So it's a high-score game?
It's a high-score game that you play with the D-pad, but then, importantly, the crank.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
The skill of Crash Mole comes in carefully navigating under the hole, quickly cranking, but having an optimal crank so you can quickly pop back down. Just staying out long enough to get a point and dodging the hammer. It becomes quite frantic as you enter this rhythm with yourself of, okay, I know exactly...
Rhythm Tengoku almost.
I know exactly how to position myself to pop out of the hole to get the point, to jump back down, move to the next hole, and you start to predict the hammers, and you start to understand how fast the hammers are going to fall and how close you can push it to the hammer's impact to get a point. The reason that I know the strategy of Crash Mole is because I have the second highest score in the world.
Really?
On Crash Mole.
You don't know.
I don't know.
When was the last time you turned the thing on?
I don't know.
October.
But there's a period of time, at least, we'll put it this way, where I had the second highest score in this game because I would just pop into it a couple minutes between meetings when I'm making lunch, whatever. I loved it. I think it perfectly exemplifies in an arcade format the tactile nature of the playdate and why it's so interesting. So, yeah, Crash Mole. I don't think that's going to be on anyone else's list this year. But I really did love it. That's
very cool. I'd certainly like to give it a try.
Yeah.
Abram, let's do an even better platforming game from this year. Sonic Dream Team. Apple Arcade.
Sure.
Sonic... Apple Arcade exclusive Sonic game.
I above Wonder on your list?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Because 3D platforming is better than 2D platforming. And this is a 3D platformer, and that's a 2D platformer. See? It's simple. Just do the math. How many Ds does it have? Better game. But Sonic Dream Team...
I think double D is funny.
So, a couple years ago. Was it last year? When did Frontiers come out? Holy shit.
It was last year.
Okay, it was 2022.
Yeah, it was last year.
So it's 2 years ago. Because... It's 2024 now. Last year, two years ago, they put out the best Sonic game ever made. And then this year, they put out the other best Sonic game ever made. Sonic Dream Team is what 3D Sonic should have been for the last 25 years. This Apple Arcade exclusive studio, Sega Hardlight, I think is the name of the team, just were given free reign to make Sonic in its momentum and its speed and its whimsy and ridiculous ethereal backgrounds in 3D, which has been, they've tried so many fucking times. They've tried different kinds of 3D platforming. There's Frontiers and there's Colors and there's Generations and there's Boom and there's Unleashed and there's Lost World and there's Black Knight. It's like they try so many times. And there's Lost World, which I haven't even played yet. But that was closer to what this was in terms of traditional 3D platforming. But they did what they needed to do, is There's a sense of speed here. There's a sense of momentum. There's a sense of tight platforming in terms of how quickly you can turn around. The levels are ridiculous, crazy geometry that have a little bit of branching pathways so you can explore and go find something else. And it has, I think, the best aesthetic that Sonic has ever had with, especially in the first world, there's bubbles and squeaky hammers and still the traditional palm trees that Sonic is known for. It is inventive, it is fast, it looks great, it has a roster of playable characters that play. There's 3 different archetypes for how they play, phenomenal bosses. Like, it's just the complete package.
It's short too, right?
Yeah, 4 or 5 hours long. Just like you blast through it. It has a ton of replay value. There are like new missions every day and stuff. It's just a really, really fantastic game that I think, if it ever loses its Apple Arcade exclusivity, will be considered one of the top 5 best Sonic games ever made.
I really want to play it. This is an Android. This is a Windows.
You need to play it here. You need to play it on my laptop.
Do you still have Apple Arcade?
I have Sonic Dream Team right there on my hotbar.
Oh, you do?
Haven't gotten rid of it.
Yeah, I might have even...
I actually accidentally launched it yesterday. I was trying to click on WhatsApp, and then Sonic Dream Team launched. I'm like, oops, didn't mean to do that.
I might even play it this weekend. If you
should.
Not
You absolutely
your
should.
top at any point.
Yeah. Keep going.
But yeah, I really do want to play that.
I think you will love it. I think you will really genuinely love it.
I do too, and I really need to, because Sonic Superstars sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a video about positivity, but I think the game sucks. I played Lost World recently, and I also think that sucks.
There were 3 Sonic games last year. The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
I played that. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I didn't beat it, but I thought it was cool. I thought that was cool. Let me do another mobile game.
Okay.
I want to do Gubbins.
Ooh.
I love Gubbins. I think this is a really exceptional game.
I'm too stupid for Gubbins.
The way I describe Gubbins is, it's
Scrabble, but fuck you.
It's not even that. It's if a mobile word search app was an actual video game.
Sure.
Because there's this is a common phenomenon I find. You're sitting on an airplane, and there's a person probably in their from their 40s to their 60s in a seat in front of you, and they're playing some fucking word game where you're just touching tiles or little letters or fucking little hexagons or something to make words, and that's it. That is the expectation of the mobile word game.
Yeah.
This game, Gubbins, is also just about making words, but it has arcade sensibilities in its combo sensibility.
Yeah.
It has these
kind of like a Tetris style.
Yeah.
More you get, the more points you get.
There are these really interesting almost power-ups and enemies that enter the board. And it also
Good
has...
Gubbins and bad Gubbins.
Yeah, it also has this very tongue-in-cheek, almost like... this. I don't mean to sound like a pejorative, but like millennial coloring book style aesthetic.
Sure, yeah.
And it's so playful.
Are you really big into millennial coloring books?
It's just the way it feels to describe in my head.
I've never heard of a millennial coloring book.
And you have like
Pterodactyl, ladies and gentlemen. Get in the cat. You want to say hi to the camera?
Tanner, what was your favorite game in 2023?
Spider-Man 2.
There we go. Thank you very much. You have like these weird elements that pop in front of your board. Little gubbins come and blink, and hands pop out of nowhere.
Great animation. Phenomenal animation.
It's beautifully animated, and I still play this game regularly. It is one of my favorite mobile games of all time. It really didn't get the love it deserved, unless you're in very specific circles on Twitter, which you should be, and because I'm in those. But go download Gubbins. You can play it for free, but I really recommend that you spend I think it's $4.99 for unlimited play.
Sure.
Because it's a really special game.
Yeah. Again, I'm too stupid for Gubbins. It would be on my list because it's a good game, but I was like, I couldn't figure out how the combo system worked. I don't know.
I'm trying to get to 6,000 points right now. I'm at.
I don't think I cracked 1,000.
My high score is 58 in the 58.
Next up, Resident Evil 4. They did it, ladies and gentlemen. We reviewed Resident Evil 4. I think it was our first game of 2021 that we reviewed years ago. At this point, 3 years ago now. And I said in that video that I think that's a good game. I think it's held back in many ways and feels antiquated in a couple ways and was primed for a remake that tightens up the controls, that obviously visually makes it better, though visually I think the first game looks good, so it's not really the problem. Gets rid of the weird cutscenes that just like, okay, you're going to jump off a cliff. Instead of actually jumping off a cliff, you watch a cutscene of Leon Kennedy jumping off a cliff. There were those things that really made it feel like it was held back by its original hardware. And they did it. They remade Resident Evil 4 in all its campiness and all its ridiculousness and all its horror gratuity in the way that they remade those other Resident Evil games, and it's just phenomenal. It is action packed, even more so than that first game was. It retains its cheesy comedic edge while still delving even harder into horror, because with the shadows and the sound effects, with the phenomenal sound design, it's even more scary. And it does something that I think was really lacking in that first game that made me care so much more, is they rewrite the relationship between Leon and Sarah. What's her fucking name? Ashley Johnson. The two of them actually support one another and ask each other if they're okay, and she's a much less annoying character in this one. And they add different areas and add little mini games and just lots of fun Resident Evil detail and attention to care is just poured into this game. And it's just one of the best 12-hour experiences you have. It doesn't overstay its welcome. The areas are perfectly paced. It's replayable. It's just another one of those amazing AAA, super high production value, but tightly curated games. I thought it was phenomenal.
Unfortunately, I disagree, because things were better in the past, and this game is not on my list. My next game, speaking of things being better in the past, Crazy Taxi. I love Crazy Taxi. This is, again, the sort of game that's just...
I've only played Crazy Taxi 2.
Fair enough. This is sort of...
Put the fucking game out on Modern Hardware.
Yeah, I had to play it on... I played on Series X, but through...
360 back.
I got the 360 version. 360, yeah. It's a whole shebang. But, again, this game was made...
I want to play the game on Switch.
I would love to play this game on Switch. It's such a simple idea. You have a city, and you have people who need to go places quickly.
Yeah.
How quickly can you get them where they're trying to go? And the hilarity that ensues from that, I think, is just delightful. It's a sort of game that, as the best arcade titles do, it really encourages you to keep playing and get better. Because like an actual taxi cab driver, you come to learn the city a little bit better. Yeah. And you come to know, okay, I can take this street, and I can cut this corner, and I can jump down over this ledge, and I can get there a little bit faster. And the other thing with Crazy Taxi, on a gameplay level that makes it really great, is you get a better fare and thus a higher score if you excite your passengers by driving stupidly. Mm-hmm. The closer you get to a vehicle and you pass, the bigger your bonus is. Yeah. So it encourages you to always be on this knife's edge of precision and risk and time management. I love it. The game also has allegedly a banging soundtrack. Of course, the Xbox Live version doesn't have the original Dreamcast soundtrack because of licensing issues.
Wait, you got a Dreamcast?
I do have a Dreamcast.
Where is it? Not here.
I don't know where that is. But I love Crazy Taxi. I love it. I'm very excited to see what they do with the modern Crazy Taxi.
Absolutely. So that's going to be really interesting to see. Yeah. And also, probably that means they will make those games more accessible on modern hardware.
I hope so.
Next up for me, number 15, Jusant. Fuck you, play this game. You will love this game.
I know I will.
This is the second game on this list that I think would be on your list.
Yeah.
Because Jusant, as I said in my tweet review of this game, is Abzu meets Grow Home, and I couldn't mean that in a more positive way.
Sure.
This is the kind of game that I just... when I watched the first 5 seconds of it, I'm like, this is going to be one of my favorite games of the year. Because it is ethereal, it has gorgeous art style, it has a unique sense of identity in terms of the mechanics of climbing and setting down your little thing that saves your space and managing your stamina, and then each area reinventing the way that you're approaching with wind coming or jumping on moving platforms. And it tells a very backgrounded but pretty compelling story of a lost culture in this very unique location of a tower that used to have water next to it but no longer does. So you're walking through these desiccated husks of what that once were cities that have boats that are crashed into the side of a mountain, and you have a little blue guy on your back that pings and gets new abilities across the course of the game. It is very short in a good way for me. It is gorgeous. It is the perfect kind of game to just sink into for a couple hours over a weekend and just come out the other side being games can deliver these unique experiences that nothing else can. Jusant is just one of those, and it's on Game Pass. Go play it. It's just phenomenal. And Don't Nod, I already liked you, but this is the kind of thing you need to get into doing more.
Don't Nod, I just bought Remember Me.
You did. I'm not sure if you like that game.
Don't Nod is coming out with a new game that is an action, Silver Greaves of Mist Walkers or something.
What the fuck?
they're making an action RPG.
No.
Banishers. That's what it
Banishers
is.
Goes to New Eden. Yeah, I've heard of that. That was announced a long time ago, I believe.
Apparently, it's coming out like next month.
They also have Lost Records, which is now that they don't have the IP for Life is Strange, they're doing Life is Strange.
Yeah.
Again. But also, Deck 9 does better Life is Strange games, so.
I will pledge you saw it. I played, past tense, my dice game on my list. Radiant Silvergun.
This is one of the worst experiences of my year, watching you play this fucking game.
Explain it for the audience.
Radiant Silvergun is a shmup. Already off to a bad start. All right, this is not a good place for you to be. But in Radiant Silvergun, you get experience once in a blue moon, and it makes you a little bit stronger. But you also learned something because you got to play through the level 400 times.
Let's rewind. Radiant Silvergun.
Am I wrong?
Radiant Silvergun released on Sega Saturn. It's this beautiful shmup from Treasure. Obviously, their next shmup, Ikaruga. Well, actually, they made one in the middle called Bengai-O.
I didn't even heard of that.
Yeah. Also, John Doyle introduced me to that game on N64.
Boss of the show.
Boss of the show. That's true. He's my boss. Radiant Silvergun is a beautiful anime-inspired shmup, wherein the entire game is about an hour long, if you do it right.
Yeah, and you didn't.
For many times. Every time you die in Radiant Silvergun, you go back to the story mode. But you go back to the story mode with a little bit more power in your guns and your various different arsenal, and with another continue. So the progression of Radiant Silvergun is getting your teeth kicked in by the first stage, and then getting a little bit stronger, to the point where you're going 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes without dying until you beat the game around 60.
And then losing all your lives on one stupid thing at the end of the game. Actually, quite similar to Sifu, structurally.
Yeah, it is.
But your ship doesn't get old.
No. I understand why this is frustrating. The idea that you play 45, 50 minutes of the game and then die and have to go back and redo those 50 minutes. But to me, not only do I love the spectacle inherent to Treasure's games and the no refuge that pops up before a fucking amazingly animated Sega Saturn boss is incredible to me. But getting to be in this sense of world that Treasure cultivates and getting a little bit better every time, for me, is extremely satisfying.
Yeah.
And the idea that the game says, I'm not gonna get easier, you're gonna get better, and we're gonna give you the tools to make this fair.
Yeah, sure.
Works for me. Because there's so many difficulty options, and I can only beat this game on the easiest difficulty.
Yes.
I'm excited to...
but it terrifies me.
Yeah.
that might be one of the scariest sentences you've ever said.
Yeah.
Because I sat during PAX and watched you play this for probably a combined 10 hours over the course. And you beat it just after, I think, on the plane or something like that. We certainly weren't in the...
We were together.
Oh.
I think you were probably maybe trying to repress it.
Yeah, probably. Oh well. But I have no idea where I was going with that.
No, it's important because the shmup genre is not one that I'm very good at or very versed in, but I think that Treasure makes it approachable.
Sure.
I think that this structure, if you're willing to get stuck into the repetition, it's an approachable game to try to beat. And it's the sort of game that I'm excited to grow with, the way that I've grown with Sin and Punishment to get quite good at Sin and Punishment. I'm excited to get quite good at Radiant Silvergun.
Yeah.
So I really had a phenomenal time with that game.
I didn't.
Fair enough.
I was yelling at you playing this game.
I love the game. Someone I forgot to ask?
Next up for me is Eco, a game that I played years ago a little bit of through the PS3 collection, and I was like, I don't like this hand-holding thing. Whatever. Yeah. It holds your hand. Well, you hold its hand.
Literal hand.
Literally, you hold its hand.
You literally hold
Eco, you guide another character through the world and explore this environment through 3D platforming that is a little more realistic in terms of its physics and the distance of your jump and how quickly you can have to die if you fall off too big of a ledge because you're just playing as a kid who has a stick. He's got a stick and he's got to fight some ghosts. And the combat in this game is not very good. But luckily, the combat is a small section of this game or small element of this game. Otherwise, dominated by incredible I would say production design in the way that a film is production design, of archways that go up infinitely tall and looming castles in the background that have this unique sense of color palette, and weird monsters that are coming around the corners and walking through a dark area with a torch. It is the perfect accentuation and surrealism of things that I don't usually like, which are fantasy visual tropes, and just the location of the castle doesn't really appeal to me. But when you put it through Ueda's sense of surrealism, it becomes a larger than life place with clouds and birds, and all through PS2 architecture. It's the perfect length. You are always moving forward. The puzzles are really intuitive, and I just thought it has a phenomenal score, phenomenal art style. It's just one. It's one of the greats that I really ended up connecting to on my second time giving it a try. What did you play Eco?
I will.
Oh, okay. Oh,
in 2024, beat a Team Eco game.
Okay. Have you tried it? No, you tried Last Guardian, didn't you?
I've tried all of them.
Oh, okay.
And they've never connected with me. But as is a trend, as I've talked about on this channel, as I've shown in this video, sometimes a game just has to strike me at the right point.
Yep.
And I see in Team Eco's body of work what you see and why these are the masterpieces that they are. And I think that
they're working on a game, apparently.
Yeah. I would love to. I think the thing that really held me back from Eco in particular is that I was trying to stream it. I would like to
You were? Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Trying to stream it from a cloud.
Oh, so was I. It was fine.
System. Yeah, but I was on college Wi-Fi.
Abram, Never Alone is on sale. Twice in this video. Let's see how many times we can get it.
Next game, Tucker. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom is my. What are we at now? 13. Tears of the Kingdom is my 13th favorite game of the year. I have very complicated feelings of Tears of the Kingdom, which I talked about, and I think is a very good discussion we did over the summer.
I've had a hard time rewatching that because it makes me feel uncomfortable.
I think, as I've been reflecting on it more, Breath of the Wild released at a time in my life when I could receive it really well.
Sure.
Tears of the Kingdom released at a time in my life when I couldn't.
Yeah, your hole's a little tighter now.
My hole is, I've been training it to be that way.
Yeah.
I would have never been able to connect to Tears of the Kingdom the way I connected to Breath of the Wild, and that's just a fact.
Yeah.
But I think when I attach that to my analytical brain, saying there are a lot of design decisions in this game that I don't prefer.
Sure.
It had to be lesser for me than what I would consider to be one of my probably 10 or 15 favorite games.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But this is still Nintendo coming out, big dick swinging, massive open world game with inventive physics and quests in 3 tiers to explore. But to me, none of that matters, because the reason Tears of the Kingdom is 13th on my list, and the reason that it is still in probably a second tier of Zelda for me, right below my top tier, is that I think this story is really good.
Yeah, so do I.
And I know that people who have no lives and think that the Zelda timeline is important to care about feel differently about this. But I'm joking.
I prefer not to associate with any of them.
I think that the emotion of the last 2 hours of the game is astounding.
Yeah.
I think that Matt Mercer as Ganondorf is astounding. I think that the health bar break alone in that fight is one of my favorite game narrative moments ever. That core quest line is a traditional Zelda game.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit the highs that some others do in the dungeon design and various things. But those last 2 hours, I maintain, in my opinion, are the best 2 hours in the entire franchise.
Holy shit, yeah.
I fucking love the end of this game. And so even though the sum of the parts for me is weaker than its predecessor, it's not the game I want. I do want a traditional linear 2D Zelda again. There's no doubt the amount of love and care in this game, and there's no doubt that there is something in here for everybody. Yeah. And for me, it was that main quest line.
Yeah,
so I gotta still shout out Tears of the Kingdom for as conflicted on it as I am.
And just like that, we're back for number 13. No time passed. That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's true.
Close, boom, just changed like that. Abram, my 13th favorite game that I played in 2023 is Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Now, I had played a handful of Resident Evil games before the beginning of this year. I had played 2 Remake, which I enjoyed quite a bit. I'd played Village when that came out. I played 4. But it's sort of a weird smattering. But I went I went sicko mode into Resident Evil at the beginning of this year,
Yeah.
playing 7, playing 1, playing 3 Remake, and it was a lot of fun. And Resident Evil 7 Biohazard is my favorite Resident Evil game of all time.
Sure.
I think this game is
Sure.
fantastic. Obviously, a little bit above Resident Evil 4, which I think is another great game. But for me, Resident Evil 7, outside of the Ethan Winters of it all, because I really do not like Ethan Winters.
Yeah, sure.
Everything about this game is, I think, the perfect survival horror experience. The Baker family is so fun to interact with. The environment of their Louisiana home is so distinct. You never get southern locations in games. Everything's so richly detailed. It holds up really well visually, even, like half a generation later. I think it's just a phenomenal game. It's like 10 hours long. It's perfectly paced. It's so intricately packed with detail. And that's my favorite thing about Resident Evil is like getting a key and opening up a door and expanding the map slowly over time. Great boss fights. It's just the complete package.
You were in Louisiana not too long ago.
True.
Would you say that Biohazard was
very accurate?
Yeah, accurate.
Yeah, very accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. I did that this winter. I did it.
Ethan. I want to play it, but I've said this to you before. This is the exact aesthetic that freaks me out.
Sure.
Because it's
Southern
the type,
people. Yeah. And I've made that joke multiple times.
I'm sure you have
on the show.
But I think my next RE game probably will be this.
Sure.
It'll either be this or be 5.
Oh, 5 is another one we could play co-op. No, wait.
Yeah, no, 5 is
both of them are co-op, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 is full co-op, and also it would take about a quarter of the time that it takes to beat 6.
Yeah, 6 is whatever. You're next.
We'll stick in the realm of survival horror for a next 2023 game on this list. It's Alan Wake 2.
Oh.
Alan Wake 2 is an exciting game for me, not only in that in and of itself it is an exceptional title, but in that it's sort of become my doorway into more of Remedy's modern catalog.
Sure.
Because I really like Max Payne, and I think Max Payne was on my list last year. But things like Control never really spoke to me. I never really had any interest in trying Quantum Break. But I was really tantalized by Alan Wake 2 from a distance, and then you playing and loving it really got me excited to give this game a shot. And I'm glad that I did. I think it takes a little bit to get into the rhythm of Alan Wake, but once you do, as we've talked about extensively in our video about the game for TGAs, it really is an astounding narrative structural achievement.
Absolutely.
In terms of the content, as we're talking about it, it's the themes and the plot or maybe get a little bit lost, but it's really it's hard to care when this is such a provocative and I think sophisticated approach to game narrative and structure. It's genuinely scary. It's genuinely humorous at times when it needs to be, and I think that some of its parts is just so decidedly unique.
Absolutely.
That the best thing I can actually say about Alan Wake 2 is it gets me excited to give Control another shot.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I'm just really pleased to have my Remedy game the way that you for a long time been really interested in the team. So I just was really taken by surprise by Alan Wake 2, and I ended up thinking it was just exceptional.
Yeah. It didn't really click with me.
Yeah, fair enough. I understand.
It didn't quite make my list. My next game is Prey. Cool. Now, poor Arcane Austin.
The 2009 Prey game?
No. Poor Arcane Austin. They made a terrible game this year. They made a notoriously terrible game. One that may end up changing their studio for the worse forever. And it certainly has tarnished their reputation. But before this, they were known as the team that made Prey. And I had played Dishonored and a little bit of Dishonored 2, and I was an Arcane fan.
Those are both Leon.
Yes, those are both Leon, and so is Deathloop. And though both teams work on all the games in some capacity, each team leads certain games, and they went from Prey to Redfall, and that we saw how that worked out. But Prey feels very different because it is the immersive sim elements that Arcane is known for, but in a more open-ended fashion. I can't remember the name of the space station that you're on, but the space station that Prey takes place on is sprawling and intricate. And in the way that I love BioShock, every little room tells a little bit of a story. And the way that you can use your powers that grow over the course of the game to approach different areas and approach combat and avoiding things and getting your guy just up the right thing to go into the pipe to go around and skip to another area. It is a densely packed game full of care, and there's an interesting narrative going on in the background that's definitely not the main priority, but it's just such an engrossing gameplay loop to be upgrading yourself, fighting these unique creatures that can turn into just like a cup, and you have to like keep your eye out at all times. And I think it has beautiful like Art Deco mixed with sci-fi futuristic art design. I think it's a really, really fantastic game, and it's one that just absolutely sucked me in for like an entire week.
Yeah, and was this one of the first immersive Sims you've played, like proper immersive Sims?
Well, I mean, it depends on. I guess so.
Yeah. I just think it's an interesting.
BioShock, Dishonored, like those are in that vein, and I've played those for a while. But
it's just a very interesting genre to me. I think Prey is super cool. My next game is Call of Juarez Gunslinger. This was a later addition to my list. I am not a binge player. I play games usually for 3 or less hours at a time. That's just usually what I enjoy to do. But Call of Juarez, for the probably 4.5 hours it took me, I didn't even pause. I didn't even stop to go do anything else. I probably blinked 6 times. This game, for people who aren't familiar, is a very, very late 7th gen shooter that takes place from the perspective of an old gunslinger named Silas Greaves, who arrives to a bar and retells his adventures to other people in the bar. And this is essentially an arcade-minded FPS, score-driven FPS. Okay. But what makes it so compelling is that the entire game is narrated by Silas at the bar.
Oh, fun. I love that.
And as he gets details wrong, as people challenge his story, as other people at the bar tell their version of stories, the levels around you change dynamically.
Sure. Yeah, that's
Silas
awesome.
misremembers who the enemies are, so they suddenly poof out and new ones poof in. Or as he's lying about how he got out of a situation, like a rock wall will fall away to let you through a different passageway that wasn't there before and probably wasn't there at all. It plays with narrative in this amazing way on a very like intrinsically linked level to the gameplay that makes it very, very dynamic.
Yeah.
So even though it can feel very shooting gallery-esque at times, because again, it is very arcade driven. It's about score.
But I also kind of like that because it's a Wild West game.
Yeah,
like, you associate shooting galleries with that aesthetic. So I think that would be kind of the only area that I would like a game to be shooting gallery-esque in is in the over-the-top Wild West nature. That's cool.
Yeah, it works really well, and it really is a narrative to me that brings it over the top, because to me it's actually one of my favorite game narratives. I just think it's amazing the way that and we have a lot of conversation about what's the role of a game's narrative, you know, what is narrative, what isn't narrative. To me, the ability to fuse your narrative this directly and intimately to gameplay is just really impressive. So I totally love Call of Juarez. It's one that I will be revisiting for sure. I think it's a perfect length. So
cool. Yeah. I honestly, I'd heard the name, but I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
And I look at this, I'm like, you're lying to me. Like, you're doing that to fuck with me. You're putting that up there above Alan Wake 2 just to mess with my brain and see if I catch it. But then you explain it, I'm like, that actually sounds awesome.
It's genuinely very cool, and it speaks to my
It's a very that's a very under discussed game.
It is,
no one fucking talks about Carl Juarez.
No.
What's Carl up to these days? Next up on my list is your favorite game of all time that you haven't played. This is It Takes Two, a game that you will never play, but I think it could be one of your top 10 favorite games of all time if you actually fucking sat through it, because this is the most Nintendo game that Nintendo never made.
Okay.
The team at Hazelight have taken the co-op game, which has gone by the wayside, and we know that they love fucking around with co-op. They've taken the 3D platformer that has been present, but it's not exactly a major player in the industry in the last decade. And they won Game of the Year by mashing those two things together, because no one has ever done a co-op 3D platformer like Hazelight, with the fucking backing of EA, has the budget and spectacle to create the most variety you've ever experienced in a game, and the craziest high production value set pieces you've ever experienced in a 3D platformer. This is a game that is 11 hours long, and it feels like 40 in the best way.
Sure.
In where every single place that you're in is totally different from the last. And I don't even mean just, the levels. I mean, within the levels, you're visiting this area, and then you do a set piece, and then you ride on a thing, and then you do a puzzle mechanic that's only there in that one level. We talk about how Nintendo is so good in Kirby and in Mario and in Zelda, creating these bespoke situations that feel like they're swinging their penis in a helicopter motion. Just be like, we can do this. Sure. This is design, and every little thing, even if it's only used once, is going to be a ton of fun and designed very well. This is, I think, even more that than something like Galaxy or Odyssey that are known for that amazing variety and constantly reinventing themselves and challenging you with new mechanics, but they play with that in such fun ways, and there's mini games everywhere that you can stumble in and beat with your partners, but then it's also a 3D platformer that uses co-op mechanics to do asynchronous multiplayer. So each person has a different mechanic that they have to use in tandem to get through the puzzles, to get through the platforming, and it looks gorgeous. It has an amazing score. The voice acting is fantastic outside of Dr. Hakim, that fucking annoying book. But I think it's one of the best games of the last couple years. And the fact that I didn't get a chance to play it in the year it came out is literally your fault. Like, unambiguously.
We did play it.
We did play it. The reason I didn't beat the game is literally your fault.
That is true.
It's actually on camera. It's your fault.
That is
but I'm so glad that Tanner and I finally sat down and played it, because it's not one of my favorite games I've ever played, but I'd be hard-pressed to find flaws with this game. I think it is actually one of the best games I've ever played that really shows that there is room to innovate, not only in 3D platformers that have been around for 30 years at this point, but co-op games that aren't given this kind of budget. And Hazelight's just like, fuck it. Full AAA budget, spectacle, action set pieces, constantly reinventing itself with mechanics. It's a fucking masterpiece.
Cool. My next game, Sin and Punishment Star Successor. This is a game that I actually played a very long time ago. My aunt had this game. We played it very briefly on her Wii.
You're the weirdest aunt on the planet.
Yeah, she loves games. She's got a very eclectic taste. And this is one she introduced me to for a very long time ago. But it was this year that I actually sat down and saw the game through. I prefer N64 Sin and Punishment.
Sure. But
that's because the games are very different.
Mm-hmm.
And so whereas N64 Sin and Punishment is very much in the tradition of, a Star Fox 64 that's extremely short, highly replayable, Sin and Punishment Star Successor, knowing that it's a modern Wii game, knowing that there's, a different set of expectations on it, is a much bigger game. It's a much longer game. And it's spectacular. It's one that I think doesn't lend itself to as many replays because it's a several hours long endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
But I started it one day and I played it to its completion over a couple sittings. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like 7 hours about to beat.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
that is pretty substantial.
Yeah. So this is, again, another game that captivated me for some pretty long sessions.
Yeah.
Which is not usual, but, these arcade shooters tend to get to me. But Star Successor just has a sense of swagger about it that Treasure always has, in that you're playing a level and there is so much shit going on and it is so dynamic, but you move through it so fast. You have to be an incredibly skilled developer and a humble developer to not care that you put so much intense detail into an environment that the player is going to be in for a couple seconds before they move on. I think it's exceptional. It's spectacular by the end in the boss gauntlet, which will feel impossible until you sit down, you buckle down, and you get through it. It's a very rewarding game. It plays very well with the Wii Remote. I mean, light gun games, arcade shooters were made for the Wii Remote and the sensor bar, and Sin and Punishment is maybe one of the best. So, absolutely love it. I would fucking die for a 30 Sin and Punishment game, but Treasure kind of just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately. The company still technically exists. They have like 3 people in a fucking office somewhere.
They did either the Ikaruga or the Radiant Silvergun port themselves to modern consoles, but that's about it, which is a shame.
It's bizarre.
Because Sin and Punishment is so fucking cool, but I mean, the games are so niche that it's not a surprise that there's not more.
Next up for me is me digging into the Half Mermaid games. Sam Barlow did Immortality last year, which I think was maybe like our collective game of the year in terms of both of us loving it, like in our top 3 or whatever of last year, or 2 years ago. It's 2024 now. But there were other games that Sam Barlow made in that exact same vein, and one of them is Telling Lies, a game that takes the variety structure of Immortality. Well, actually, other way around. But to me, Telling Lies took the variety structure of Immortality, where it's a bunch of different narratives going on at once, but it tells it through the eyes of a camera, of phone cameras recording through FaceTime calls, through the webcam. I was going to point to my actual webcam, but like a webcam here. And it gives it the entire thing a feeling of grounded realism
Sure.
because it is mimicking the camera angles and camera work. I use camera work in the lightest sense because it is phones and computers that we are so used to interacting with. I Discord call and Zoom call and FaceTime call constantly, and you never think that anyone's watching you. Of course, well, if your friend is watching you, usually, unless you're not paying attention. But telling lies is about what if these calls had to be looked through, and you had to analyze calls between the main character Logan Marshall Green and 3 different women that he's having these affairs with, and what do they know about him and his past, and is he lying to them? And it pieces together its narrative that where he's like a CIA agent that is lying to one of them about his identity, and then his wife, they have a daughter, and then there's this whole like bioterrorism like not subplot, it's like the main plot, and you are piecing all this together, but it all fits together so tightly by the end. It blew me away. I think that the structure of going through this game in the search fashion that her story, as we'll get to later, I have that on my list, pioneered, and then with the variety that Immortality then took and ran with, this is a really interesting synergy. I don't think I like it as much as either of the other ones, but all 3 of those games are masterpieces, and Telling Lies, I think, might have the best story in terms of character arcs, and even though it's very complicated and twisty-turny, being easily understandable and compared to Immortality, which is basically horseshit. At the end of the day. But I loved Telling Lies. I absolutely adored that game.
I know you love Telling Lies.
Huh.
I do really want to play that. I want to play that and Her Story.
Yes, you do. There are 2 other Immortalities out there.
There's actually more if you count Plumbers Don't Wear Ties and Night Trap. Ding. My next game, Citizen Sleeper. Citizen Sleeper.
It's my 85th favorite game of the year.
Fair enough. Citizen Sleeper, I shouldn't, for transparency, Lost Occult works very closely with its developer. We're making a book about Citizen Sleeper, in fact, but I played the game entirely separately. And I'm really glad that I did, because Citizen Sleeper is a sort of game that on paper has really no business being interesting to me.
Sure.
Frankly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's the antithesis of basically every game I've talked about on this list so far.
Yeah.
It's solely about narrative and abstracted movement through dice.
Yeah.
But
no action.
No action. There's
literally.
no action.
Oh, yeah.
There's no action. But I found Citizen Sleeper so captivating in its atmosphere, in being on the Erlin's Eye and hearing the soundtrack and becoming immersed in the life of the sleeper that I create, and the characters that I came to meet, and the ways that I came to really use my time and my resources deliberately to see as much as I could of the place around me. I tend to, in some ways, when I play games, be sort of incurious. I tend to be really interested
in life.
And in life. Yeah. I tend to be really interested in mechanics and be interested in my task and be interested in achieving the goal I'm trying to achieve. But in Citizen Sleeper, I really just wanted to be.
Sure.
And I think it's a testament to Gareth's writing. I think it's a beautifully written game. I think the scenarios you end up in are a lot more dynamic and a lot more quaint than you might expect from a game that begins with you questioning your sense of self and being chased by a bounty hunter who wants to kill you, right? It's also a game where you eat ramen and grow mushrooms and adopt a cat and take care of a little kid and make friends. And I think it's a beautiful game. I think it's beautiful. I found it to be very emotionally affecting, and I don't frankly often find games emotionally affecting. So yeah. I just was smitten by it. Beat it in one sitting on a flight. Maybe the only enjoyable flight I've taken.
Usually you're too antsy to even play a game.
Yeah.
Like you'll often say, "Oh, I'll play this on the plane," and I'm like, "Hey, how'd that go?" And you're like, "Didn't even try. Didn't even think about it once." So good on you, Citizen Sleeper. You did the impossible.
Yeah.
Next up for me is Tacoma. This is actually one of the first games I played last year, and this Tacoma is the second game from the studio Fulbright that made Gone Home, that basically created the walking sim genre. Of course, there were a couple games before that, but really popularized it with Gone Home, which is a game that I really, really adore. But Tacoma is the evolution of the walking sim genre in terms of its location is so much more complex. You're on a space station. There's a lot of space station games on my list this
Fair
year.
enough.
You're on a space station and you are piecing together what happened to all of the people that were on this space station before. And so you have this very intricately designed place that has everything that these people would need to be on this spaceship. It has, and it's really fun for me to see be in a place designed in a game that is sci-fi and ridiculous, because I've never been on a space station before in my life, but feels like there's absolute attention to detail.
Sure.
They have everybody's bedroom decked out with all the things that are the books they would be reading, and the pictures of their family, and scraps of newspaper in their desks, and their desks that you can like look into. Their computers have all the files and emails that would be
porn they're watching,
and porn, lots of porn.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all told through these flashback sequences where you sort of interact with this AR, they're like stick figure versions of the people that are going through the last motions before they died. And kind of actually like Return of the Obra Dinn, in that you're trying to piece it together. And so you can scrub through these sequences and walk around and like see, oh, were they grabbing something? What were they doing right before they died? And then you piece together a story over the course of this, 3 or 4 hour game. And it's just engrossing. It has this really clever mechanic of being able to scrub through these 3D interactions between these people, and great voice acting, amazing art direction. It's just one of those games that speaks to me very acutely, and being in a unique, tight, artistic creation.
Yeah.
And it makes me kind of sad that they haven't put out a game in 8 years at this point. And Open Roads is in development, but also Fulbright has gone through a lot of shit. So I don't know if that game's ever going to come out.
I thought we got a release date for Open Roads.
I don't think so. I think it was just like reiterated that it's still in production.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's do a quick. I could have sworn
Open Roads game.
Maybe I might be entirely wrong.
February 2024. That's very interesting. This is good news to me.
There you go. There you go.
You just watched me learn that live on camera. Apparently, I'll be playing that game
in like 6 weeks.
Yeah, in just over a month.
Yeah.
Wow. It still says on Steam initial release date 2022.
My next game also features roads.
What the fuck? Open road connection. Okay. All right.
I'm telling you, F-Zero 99.
Sure.
Now, I'd be able to do some wicked prop comedy if I was home still, and I could put on a Captain Falcon helmet that I made, but I'm not.
Yeah.
F-Zero 99 is a game.
Nope.
F-Zero 99, I think, has been understandably divisive in that I get that everybody wanted something more.
Yeah.
And I wanted something more.
Absolutely.
But I think what F-Zero 99 does is twofold. I think it perfectly captures the essence and the tension of F-Zero as a series.
Sure.
And I think it takes the 99-35 Battle Royale concept to a much more sophisticated level.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that this game is actually in some ways quite a marvel to have come out of Nintendo.
Sure.
99 synchronous racers on a track with basically no connection issues. Doesn't really seem like a Nintendo situation. And it's an F-Zero game. It's such a simple concept, but it understands that F-Zero has always been about the tension between pushing your vehicle hard as your energy meter is running down, or driving aggressively, and also trying to be smart and staying alive. Mm-hmm. It's F-Zero X had a mode that precipitated this entire movement of Battle Royale, right? In the death race. So it was always a sensible combination. But what I didn't anticipate was that it would be so sticky of an experience, because for an entire month when it released, it was basically the only thing I was playing. I have never been especially good at F-Zero before 99 came out, but it was a great opportunity for me to really get in and get used to F-Zero better than playing it by myself against CPU and just kind of piddling around. Getting against other players, you have to gain the sense of confidence on the track that's really fun to develop. And as you do, and as you become actually in the mix for a first place, it becomes the perfect blend of extremely fun and extremely aggravating when you fuck up.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of fun getting the couple firsts that I did get, clawing out any position I could in the overall Grand Prix, and just enjoying this surprisingly robust and completely unexpected experience for Nintendo. And I really do hope that it is the start of something bigger for F-Zero. As we've discussed, Metroid, Kirby, Pikmin.
Yes.
These franchises that have had resurgence began in strange places. Yeah. With Federation Force, with Hey Pikmin, and then and then they grew and they blossomed. And I hope that this is the first step towards a new proper retail F-Zero. But even if it isn't, I played over 30 hours in 99. Yeah. And I loved all of them. Yeah. So
it's one of the most one of the most overlooked things that happened this year.
Yeah.
From Nintendo, who put out a lot of games. Yeah. But I think that this stands as an exciting moment in the history of F-Zero, because it had been 15 years since the last game, and then we just shadow dropped a game that was totally different from the other ones, and it was really goddamn good, and it's free to play. And I think F-Zero 99 is probably my favorite F-Zero game. Yeah. Not that I have a ton of reference for the series, but I do like X. And I only played. But so the two games I played, I've really enjoyed. But I think this, with the 99 formula and the changes that it makes, like being able to get a thing that puts you on the road that goes above everyone. There is some fun to it. And I actually never played it since they were updating it, but they did add some more tracks and they added some more cups and stuff. So that's cool. Very cool game. We talked about Telling Lies, but let's talk about Her Story, where Sam Barlow's fascination with FMV games really began. Her Story features one performance, and it is one woman in a room, and you are typing to find what the fuck happened to this woman. Why is she being interrogated? What did she do? Who did she kill? Did she kill? What's her past? What happened to her family? These questions bubble up so naturally because, as someone who is fascinated not only by film but the interactivity of video games, the idea of combining the two in the way that Sam Barlow does with Half Mermaid's games just sucks me in. And so I am the kind of guy that is playing Her Story and keeping every possible note of, oh, this happened on that day, and she met this person on this day, and then, oh, that doesn't line up when she said it this way, and then, I heard a name, let's research that for a while. It's a Wikipedia rabbit hole made into a video game. That's cool. And the way that it unfolds until you end up getting all the clips by the end of the game is just absolutely remarkable. But it's a game that's so complex and short at the same time, where you're learning a lot and a lot of names and a lot of dates and stuff in such a short period of time that I honestly don't remember almost any of it. And so what is cool is that kind of means that I could go back and play through Her Story again in like a year and a half or something like that, and have obviously I would remember some of it as I was going through it, but like a basically fresh experience. But it's about that in the moment experience of how unique of a game it is and how great of a performance the main actress is giving, and how revolutionary it was for the time of FMV games, especially at the time Her Story was coming out, were not a thing. Yeah. And Sam Barlow just rocketed this genre into existence, and he's the only one doing it. Yeah. Except plumbers don't wear ties.
True. Titanfall 2.
Titanfall 2
is my next game. This is one that I just have been, I had waited too long to play.
Yeah. The funny thing about Titanfall 2 is everyone says it's one of the most criminally underplayed games of all time, but also everyone says that. Yeah. I think it's hilarious.
I finally played the campaign, and it's one of the best FPS campaigns that's ever been conceptualized. What Titanfall 2 does in probably 5 hours,
it's very short,
is more impressive than what a lot of games do in triple that time. Yeah, because absolutely. To the point you're making about It Takes Two, what's so interesting about Titanfall 2 is that there is so much spectacle and variety in such a small period of time.
Yeah, and frankly, that's pretty uncommon for first-person shooter campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously a lot of these guys came from Call of Duty. That's the Respawn is ex-COD guys, and you play a lot of COD campaigns, and they're spectacular and cool, but they're very contiguous. You're going from one typically modern, particular war scenario to the next. Yes. Sometimes you're in space, but usually it's
still war though, right?
Yeah, it's still war.
I don't know, I haven't played any of those games.
But Titanfall 2 is
Advanced Warfare. I got you on my sides.
Titanfall 2 is taking you from these lush jungles into this fucking factory where new homes are being created, like
I love that
piecemeal.
level. Oh yeah.
And you're running through these big machines that are assembling houses, and then you're
it's like the tropical freeze level with the jelly, but home version.
Yes. And then you're fighting, jumping, being thrown by your Titan between these big warships, and then you're pushing your way across these battlefields in your mech. You're going mech to mech, and then what everybody talks about.
Yeah.
For one level, you get a gauntlet that switches time, and you switch between two different worlds.
Yeah. It's
and
like the medium.
And Respawn uses this for one level.
Yeah, fuck you.
It's crazy. The amount of ideas they pack into this game per square inch are exceptional.
Absolutely.
And you meld this with a sort of free-running parkour philosophy that works works with the player.
Yeah.
So like Mirror's Edge has a much higher skill ceiling, but also much higher skill floor. Anybody can pick up Titanfall 2 and immediately feel like a badass. I think that's great.
Sure.
And when
a baby.
Maybe not a baby. And when you temper...
So it's limited.
Sure. When you temper that with the big lumbering mech combat, it's just this beautiful dance of ideas. And so, I mean, it's just brilliant. It's brilliant. And it's a crime there's only one Titanfall campaign.
Yeah.
Because obviously Titanfall 1 doesn't have a campaign.
Didn't have any.
And Titanfall 3 is maybe not going to happen
No.
After EA maybe allegedly, possibly intentionally released the game between COD and Battlefield so they could drive the price Respawn down and buy them. We don't know. We don't know if that's true. We don't know. But they sabotage the game. Now they're just making fucking Apex Legends. Go make another Titanfall, please.
That's not true. They make other games.
Yeah, but
one of them's on your list. I haven't got it there yet.
Yeah, but their shooter team is only making Apex. I want them give the shooter team cancel the new fucking Star Wars shooter. They're making a Star Wars shooter. Cancel the Star Wars shooter. Make a Titanfall 3. That's a big thing for me to say.
Wow. Abram, the only game on this list that I did not beat is Red Dead Redemption 2, and that's because this game is
20 hours
daunting.
long?
No, it's not. It's a little longer than that. It's actually significantly longer than that. This game is daunting. But it's also one of the best games I've ever played. And it's maybe the best... I hate to say this. It's maybe the best game I've ever played that I might not finish. Because I played 20
you're
hours...
about to finish Elden Ring.
No. Well, I think this is better than Elden Ring.
Sure.
Red Dead Redemption 2, I played for 20 hours over the course of like a week and a half, and I was doing everything, and I was going out around every corner. I was picking up cards, and I was finding things in the environment. I was talking to people, and I was wandering into bars, and I was doing a couple of, set piece moments, like freeing a guy from a jail cell by attaching my horse to his jail cell and ripping off the wall, and then shooting some guys. And Rockstar, they do a thing that, for me, justifies the unfortunate situation that the current AAA game atmosphere is in.
Yeah.
Incredibly high budgets, incredibly long production times. They do both of those higher than anyone else. But it also works. Yeah. It also, in my mind, needs to happen to push the medium of games to bigger and grander scopes and to more and more realistic visuals and more variety and greater detail in the worlds. There is nothing like being in the world of a Rockstar game, but for me, Red Dead Redemption 2, that is the same scale as all the other open worlds, but does not have anything that's copy and pasted. Right. Does not have any mission that is repetitive. Has every little side mission and every little side activity and every side character with a fully fleshed out background, and the AI has a path that goes through their entire day, and they go to the store and they buy some food and bring it home to their children. It's like, why the fuck did you do that? Yeah. Why did you do that? Because it matters for the atmosphere of this game. And in those 20 hours, I found more to appreciate about the world that the Rockstar had created than almost any other game I'd ever played in my life. Yeah. Unfortunately, it came out, or didn't come out next to Tears of the Kingdom. It came out significantly far apart from Tears of the Kingdom, actually. But I was playing it when Tears of the Kingdom was just about to come out, and I was like,
you're a fool.
Yeah, it wasn't my greatest plan. But I heard Michael Huber saying this was one of the greatest stories ever told in games, and I'm like, fuck, I download it right now. I bought it on the PlayStation Store. But I love Red Dead 2. Yeah. I've only played 20 hours of it. I'm only I'm like a fourth of the way through the game, if that. But it's high up on my list because even in those 20 hours, one of the best games I ever played.
Yeah, it might be one of the achievements in games.
Absolutely.
It's too long for me, I fear.
Absolutely it is.
I have played...
It's too long for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the best games I've ever played.
Yeah.
Huh. How about that?
Let's go from a very big game to a very small game. Because my next title is Chibi Robo Plug into Adventure, the GameCube title.
Yes.
I would really like to play Park Control and Clean Sweep this year. But I haven't. I've only played the first Chibi Robo, and I loved it. I think that Skip is one of my favorite Nintendo teams. May they rest in peace.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Between this and Captain Rainbow, they have this uncanny ability to do a couple things that are frankly somewhat irregular for Nintendo's larger catalog. They're able to craft really thoughtful, narrative-driven games that have mature themes to them that remain extremely silly and extremely congruent with the rest of Nintendo's library.
Yeah.
And they also have this ability to craft these incredible 3D open world environments. I mean, Chibi Robo is an open world game.
Yeah,
It's just not in the way that we now connote.
It's an open world game, but your character has 1 inch of stamina, and so then you just gotta go and you can find a fucking socket and you go
and that's actually an important point, because what Chibi Robo does so well, because you're so small in this big house, while you're going around doing these quests for the family to learn more about their problems and their intermarital issues and everything going wrong with them, and you're doing that, but you're also meeting all these toys come to life and doing side missions for them, and it's all kind of converging to progress the narrative. But you're also, again, playing as this little guy.
It's true.
Who,
last time I checked,
is not good at getting around.
No.
Because this house is not made for him.
Yeah.
And what's really fun about Chibi Robo is that it makes you, similar to Death Stranding, funnily enough.
Sure.
It makes you become intimately familiar with your environment, because your environment poses a consistent challenge.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to navigate it, and you have to learn Chibi Robo's strengths and upgrade Chibi Robo so we can get further and get up to the sink and get down into the drain, and any element of a house that exists is present in Chibi Robo. And it's about how do you get there as this little guy. And so you've got so many dimensions to the game, this beautiful narrative, this really interesting traversal problem that connects you to the world in a really distinct way. And then just a wonderful cast of characters. From this fucking wooden pirate who lives in the basement that you have to go rescue, to the aliens that come down in the backyard, and the family dog who's always stirring shit up and making footprints you have to scrub away every day. It's a phenomenal game. The death of Skip is one of the worst things to happen to Nintendo.
Sure.
Because they made a type of game that just simply does not exist in Nintendo's catalog anymore, which is just a massive bummer.
Skip, in many ways, was Nintendo's Studio Japan, and now they're both dead.
Sure. Yeah.
What the fuck? Abram, Alan Wake 2. That's all I have to say. I mean, it made you laugh. We all know about this game. Alan Wake 2 is Remedy. No, that doesn't count. Okay, so sure, my number 6 is We Love Katamari Reroll plus Royal Reverie. But it's a remake. I already played that game.
Okay.
So
I was just, okay.
In the same way that you're not talking about Metroid Prime Remastered.
I just want to make sure you weren't skipping one.
Also, Metroid Prime Remastered, much bigger of a remake, and there's much more different than We Love Katamari is to Reroll.
That's
which is just
enough.
HD.
I mean, there is a Royal Reverie.
Yeah, which is like 4 levels.
Yeah.
So not much. I did play it. I did play Royal.
I didn't play Royal.
Alan Wake 2. Remedy is doing the exact same thing as Rockstar, but on the opposite scale.
Sure.
They're like, okay, let's make an incredibly detailed world with great facial animation and really highly great lighting engine and great story and detail everywhere. But let's do it for what, $15?
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't matter if we sell 10 copies. It's already made a profit just by thinking about it. And that's why I think Remedy might be one of the most important studios working today.
Agree.
In that they are making a kind of game. They're making a kind of game that other people make. This is very much in the vein of the modern Resident Evil games, and it knows that, but that's okay because it puts its own spin on it, and for me, puts it very like neck and neck up there. And I think with Resident Evil 4 remake, Dead Space remake, and Alan Wake 2 this year, it is this is a golden age of these survival horror games, and Alan Wake 2 is the one. Though even though those 2 other games are fantastic, Alan Wake 2 is the one that I think will be remembered the most because it changes what survival horror can be.
It's the new game.
Great point. by incorporating Remedy's storytelling wackiness and him like being a twisted fucking bastard that just wants to get his greedy little ideas into everything, and it works. And the split story that this game tells between Saga Anderson and Alan Wake, intertwining in different ways and universes crossing over and crazy sci-fi concepts that tie it into Control in fun ways. This is one of those like magic games for me, in that it is the kind of gameplay that we've seen before, but because Remedy knows how to tell a different story and use hardware in unique ways to have unique lighting engine moments and unique set piece moments that absolutely change the way that your mind perceives pretty stock standard gameplay, it's just leagues above what everyone else is doing. And it deserved all the awards it got. It deserved to be nominated for Game of the Year. And now with Control and Alan Wake Alan Wake 2 back to back, Remedy has been slingshot in the mind of everyone in the game sphere of, we have to pay attention to them. They are doing the thing we want them to do. What we want game studios to do is make great games with compelling stories that push the medium forward for not a lot of money. Thank you.
It's a shame that Alan Wake 2 is doing so poorly, sales-wise.
Yeah. But they have 4 games in production, so like...
I mean, Remedy's fine.
Yeah.
Which is good, which is very good. Because I agree with you. I like your point about them, the importance of them.
Yeah.
Because you don't look at Alan Wake 2 and view it as anything less than a game of the most premium quality.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's a testament to the fact that what they're doing is, it is familiar, but it's very new. And I think that newness... plus the fact that Unreal Engine 5 just looks amazing.
Absolutely.
Just results in a game that is as impressive as a Red Dead 2 without the time spent.
Yeah, and I think that it also is one of the few games that uses, like, feels like a current gen game.
Yeah.
It feels like it couldn't have been done in the same way on older hardware, with the fact that opening the menu to Saga's Mind Palace is instantaneous. And you're in a totally different environment immediately. Or the fact that you can swap between the 2 worlds and it's very quick. Or the fact that you can do the swing and the environment changes immediately around you.
It's amazing.
These are elements of using SSD and the technology of the PlayStation 5 in modern hardware to design a game around that in a different way. And it absolutely worked, and it makes this game's narrative sing. Like, the harmony between hardware and storytelling is really intermeshed here in a really great way.
Absolutely.
Aiden Beaner, put down the fucking box.
My next game is Resident Evil 4 Remake. I lied. It's on my list.
That's one of a few lies you've told.
Maybe. Who knows? RE4 Remake.
You love telling tall tales out of school.
I do love telling tall tales out of school.
Yeah. Because you're no longer in school and you still do it constantly.
Yeah. I love the original RE4. But I don't really love Resident Evil.
Yeah.
There's something very particular to me about the sensibilities of RE4 that I find especially compelling. Sure. And what
why RE3 Remake?
I would really like to. I just don't have it.
I think you do. I mean, we have it.
So. I can play it now. I think that what RE4 Remake does is it takes...
Also, RE3 Remake is a game that goes up on stuff like $10 constantly. Because
it
was like $40 when it came out, and Capcom's like, please buy RE3 Remake, please!
I just think that's a lot I don't like to spend, that's a little spendy for me. Maybe if it was...
But Singularity for $8.
Yeah, maybe if it was $8, I would have bought a 3 Remake. What 4 Remake does is it takes all of the emotions and the feelings of RE4 and remixes, and it takes them and it amplifies them in a game that is totally remixed.
Yeah.
It is not a replacement, in my opinion, for the original RE4. Yeah. It's a supplement to it. And I think in that, it is one of the most frantic and exciting action titles that's maybe ever been made.
Yeah.
I say this every time we talk about the game. The moment when you grab the crank handle off of the wall and 2 chainsaw blades stick through the wall on either side of you is the moment that encapsulates what this game is.
Sure.
As Leon backflips out and you bring your gun up.
And he says a cheesy line.
Yeah. It is the camp of the original Resident Evil 4, but in the context of a game that's a lot faster.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That has a much different sense of design priorities. And just stands really tall as another fucking banger from Capcom.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So it's both on our list.
Yeah. So Alan Wake 2 really uses hardware to tell its narrative and feels like a current gen game.
Yeah, you talked about Alan Wake.
But Spider-Man 2 and Insomniac, and being an in-house PlayStation studio and doing what they do best of building upon the groundwork that they've spent years of refining from their other games, make Spider-Man 2 like the next gen game, current gen game, PS5 hardware game that blew me away 6 ways from Sunday. I mean, this much in the way, and much like one of the games coming up soon, much like Red Dead 2, for me proved that there is a definitive artistry in the big budget spectacle game. In this game, in its technical fidelity, in the complexity of how many cars and people are being rendered on the streets, and the fact that you can fast travel instantaneously, this cannot be done on a smaller budget. I mean, most of it probably could, but the amount of atmosphere that this game brings, because it is high fidelity and because the sound design and load distances and load times are so fantastic, created the Spider-Man experience that, for me, even though I love Marvel Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales, this is just a complete replacement of those, and in the best fucking way for me, because it's all the combat of that original game, which was good, but now you got a ton of other options, and it's the amazing, groundbreaking traversal of that game. But even better, it's just better, and the world is better, and the map is better, and the side quests are better, and the story is more interesting, and you now have 2 playable characters, and the upgrades are more satisfying, and the collectibles and the side quests are tied in really interesting ways to where you'd never have to open the mini-map in this game, because in the world, there's different signs that you're going upon a collectible, whether it is the spider bots that ping, and so there's this little Wi-Fi, the purple orb coming out of it, or it's a fire or a little trail of sand going in the sky. You can play this game just being locked in to Spider-Man New York City and never having to deal with UI. Like, it is such a design big dick swinging moment of just be in this world, exist in the simulator, immerse yourself in the story, the phenomenal performances. For me, the best story of all these games that intertwines Norman Osborn. Oh, sorry, not Norman Osborn. Harold Osborn story, with a Venom story, with the Kraven's Last Hunt story, and then Miles' story, which parallels very nicely with these themes of reintegrating criminals into society. These important social messages that Spider-Man is always known for. They tie those into all the villains in very interesting and unique ways. I think it's just a masterclass in synergy between gameplay and storytelling and hardware and spectacle and fidelity. It is all of these things on a 10 out of 10 level for me. This is one of the best games I've ever played. I think Insomniac continues to up their game, and they absolutely deserve to be showered with all these accolades. And it's unfortunate that we know what they're doing for the next 5 or 10 years, because they're one, again, Rockstar, Remedy, Insomniac, they're doing the best in the business. And we actually didn't get a Rockstar game this year. I played a Rockstar game this year. They're releasing these games around the same time, which is just like blowing my mind.
We're getting another Rockstar game next year.
No, we're not. It's in 2025.
What year are we in?
Holy shit! It's 2024, ladies and gentlemen. It is next year, yeah. It's a great fucking point.
Tucker, you're talking about how amazing Spider-Man 2 runs on PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a game that doesn't run well on PlayStation 5. And that is my 4th favorite game of the year, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This is, in my opinion, maybe the best Star Wars game ever made.
Sure.
I think
I would agree with that.
I think Star Wars Jedi Survivor is the KOTOR analogous game we've waited for since KOTOR came out. This game that takes all of these different elements of the Star Wars universe and brings them into this convergence we haven't seen before. If the brilliance of KOTOR was that it invented a new era, the brilliance of Jedi Survivor is that it takes High Republic, original trilogy era, and prequel trilogy era, and brings them all into conversation in this really amazing way, to where no matter what part of the Star Wars galaxy you love, you're going to find that reflected in this game. Sure. And you're going to find it in the context of what I think is just an across-the-board mechanical improvement from Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The combat is
different
better.
Stances.
Yeah, the combat's way better. The traversal is way better. Everything is just better.
Enemy variety.
Enemy variety is way better. I was really smitten by this game. And the fact that it's number 4 on the list is actually more a testament to the fact that somehow 3 games came out that I liked more than this.
Sure.
Because this is the sort of Star Wars fantasy I've always wanted.
Yeah.
And we'll see if Outlaws can be even more than that for me. But I don't know if it can.
Sure.
Because I just think that, and yeah, as to your point with the stances, the way I can become the Jedi I want to be and explore these lush planets and fight all of...
Well, you gotta be Cal Kestis.
You have to call it Cal Kestis. We can be your Cal Kestis.
Yeah.
And fight a fucking clone commando droid over here, and then a legion of stormtroopers over here, and then I'm fighting a fucking Rancor while I'm looking around and hunting around.
That's
the
a hard
open world.
fucking fight.
It's
That
a
Rancor
hard-
fight, goddamn.
It's hard, yeah.
You gotta kick my ass so many times.
Mine too.
And then there's that guy, the custodian guy.
Yeah,
you run
Jeff.
into.
What's his name? Jeff? I don't remember.
Something like that.
It's funny.
It's a great moment.
But-
And also,
Yeah.
there's a guy named Turgle.
There's a guy named Turgle.
And
I love
Turgle's
Turgle.
really fucking funny.
And that's a great point, because I think it just captures every dimension of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
It
I mean,
has-
it even captured my favorite element of the
Yeah.
Star Wars universe, which is the idea of a bunch of wacky little characters
Yeah.
from different planets and different races conglomerating into this one little area, which there's that bar on one of the first planets you visit.
Yeah.
And it builds over the course of the story, and all the people you help out come and hang out there, and you can go talk to them and trade with them. It's like, dog, you fucking kidding me? I got to talk to the guy that's the little guy, the little spacesuit. I built a fish tank with him. That's sick.
Yeah, it captures that.
Get a garden on the roof.
The garden on the roof. It captures.
Actually, that garden thing's not that good.
I didn't really do anything.
It's
with it
not
anyway.
very good.
But it captures this alien dimension of Star Wars. It captures the right amount of fan
Yeah,
service.
yeah.
It's built on top of what is just a much better game than Fallen Order
yeah.
was. I think that Respawn is one of my favorite development units.
Yeah.
Working right now, so hell yeah. Please don't cancel your Star Wars shooter. I was kidding. I really want that.
Abram, Pikmin 4 so fucking good.
I'll just say it right now. This is my number 2, so this works out.
You're supposed to lie and say, it didn't quite make my list. Pikmin 4 is unimaginably amazing.
Yeah.
I love every Pikmin game. I even really hate Pikmin, which is a very unpopular opinion. But the world and the character and the charm of Pikmin is so different from everything else that Nintendo does. And there's no other game that plays like Pikmin. Even the games that try to be like Pikmin are not they don't actually recapture Pikmin. And that's a good thing, because those games, like something like Tinykin, end up feeling like their own thing.
Yeah.
Tinykin, another phenomenal game. Play that game. What the fuck's wrong with you? But Pikmin 4 is what I wanted the other Pikmin games to be. And now we got it. And I got to spend, 30 hours in this game. And I got to go back to the hub world and talk to some people and upgrade my character and ride around on a fucking dog and take my time in these worlds. And it's one of the most visually beautiful games Nintendo ever made. And it has some of the best side content. And the thing that I can't praise enough about this game, about Pikmin 4, is that this is one of the most natural completionist experiences you'll ever have in your life.
Yeah.
The game begs you. Actually, no, it doesn't beg you. You beg it to complete it. You're you're walking through this world. It's like, I'll just do that. I'll do that. Oh, wait, this is all normal. I'm just going through it. And you blink. 30 hours have passed, and you're like, I did everything in this game. Because everything flows so naturally. This is not a game where friction is the reason, much like in Pikmin 1, that it's interesting. This is a game where flow and exploration and constant progression and taking off many challenges to upgrade that next thing. And it's the kind of game that scratches you and it's like, I'll just do the next thing, one more thing, and then it's 30 hours later and you've done everything in this game. Pikmin 4 is a fucking masterpiece. I can't even begin to fully express how amazing this game is, and it's only my number 3 of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason that Pikmin 4 captivated me so much and became my second favorite game of the year is because it manages to be everything. Yeah. Which is very peculiar. It's very rare that
there are tenets and ideas from all 3 of the other games in there.
Yeah.
Even some Hey Pikmin stuff.
Yeah.
Like Sparkloom.
Sure.
Actually, I think just Sparkloom, but
you know, when you're looking at a game like Pikmin 4 that is launching a decade after the previous Pikmin game,
yes.
and there's so much expectation on it, the fact that it could be for everybody what we all wanted out of the series is just a testament to the fact that this was a game crafted, as we learned from the Acid developer interviews, with so much love and care, not only from the team towards the franchise, but with the knowledge that so many people love this franchise for different reasons.
Sure, yeah.
And the fact that it is as uncompromised a vision as it is,
Sure.
is really incredible.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's things like the lock-on that I am hit or miss on in various facets of the game that I think could be improved. But the fact that anybody can begin their Pikmin journey here,
Yes, definitely.
or anybody can pick up their Pikmin journey here and find what they always loved about the series is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's in the context of the most natural and believable Pikmin world
absolutely.
ever. That really just begs you to be in it.
Yeah.
And that's always what I've loved about Pikmin is the ambiance. You
finally go in a fucking house.
Yeah.
This series has been around for 20 years. You never been in a goddamn house in these games.
Yeah.
Finally we did it.
I mean, I
That level's not even the best one.
No, it's
not.
not.
Actually, it's in the lower tier.
I've always rejected the idea that Pikmin is this, and I know there's so kind of a meme in the community, and it's true of more of like Pikmin 2 than other games, but I've always rejected this idea that Pikmin is like this inherently fucked up, like, hellscape.
Sure.
And I know that is the like underlying like lore level context of the world, and it is a hard series, and you watch your Pikmin die and get eaten or whatever. But to me, Pikmin has really actually always been about natural wonder and serenity.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I think that Pikmin 4 understands that better than any of the other games.
Absolutely does.
But it also does not lose sight of the more fucked up tenor of the series either. The final boss against the big old dog is really great.
Best boss fight in the series? Or at least up there.
It's up there. I think some from Pikmin 3 might be a little better.
Like the Scornet Maestro. That's a great fucking fight.
There's a lot of really good bosses in the game. But Pikmin 4, I think, gets both of those dimensions really right. And as I said in our massive review of the game, just the ability to pitch the camera down is such a revelation for best understanding the scale of this world. And
it gave us Ochi.
I love Ochi. There's an Ochi plushie in Japan, but he's not in the US yet, so I'll probably have to import him because I want to hug him. I got to take a picture with Ochi.
You did.
And the last thing I want to say, Tucker, this game is everything. And then they basically remake Pikmin 1 of this. Which is fucking crazy.
The idea, the great thing about Pikmin 4 is that we were unsure how big this game would be. The idea that the Pikmin series had been growing over the course of the first 3 entries was there, and we were assuming that this would be the biggest one yet because it had taken the most amount of time. But the fact that we play through Pikmin 4 and then we hit the credits and it's like, how about 2 more full levels, bitch? And then you beat those and it's like, oh, how about a whole nother small game in there? It's just like, they didn't have to do any of this.
And it's crazy because when the demo came out, I was not sold on the game.
Yeah.
I thought that the demo was okay. I was a lot that I liked about it, but a lot that I was concerned about.
Yeah.
But this is a game that once you get through its opening and it lets you loose.
Yeah. You are loose.
You are loose. And I know you're loose.
I'm so loose.
And I think that level of freedom is incredible. It really feels like an adventure.
Absolutely.
Pikmin has always felt like an adventure, but this is the spirit of Pikmin's adventure on the grandest possible scale.
And I
don't, just to clarify, I don't mean Pikmin Adventure from Nintendo Land. That's not the Pikmin Adventure I'm talking about the spirit, the evocation.
The adventure, the scale, the spectacle, I think is really what pushes this to me to be a top tier game, because this is that reinvention of Pikmin where it maintains all of the core identity of Pikmin. This isn't like some of the games we got that reinvented their franchises, whether that's Kirby and the Forgotten Land that completely changes to 3D, or the Pokemon games that go open world. Those are completely changing the DNA. But this takes that and evolves it just to be bigger. And for me, that is a very important thing for Pikmin, because I love the other games are short, but Pikmin 4 now, with the Pikmin series, now feels like a big budget, AAA big game that has that sense of adventure and wonder to it. That was always not completely hampered, but somewhat hampered by how small the other games were. It was intentional, and those games were great because of it, but I always felt Pikmin could be something bigger, and it is now, like, this game literally takes the amount of time that it takes to play all 3 of the other games combined. And but that's great for all of them, for all their sake. Holy fuck.
I just totally love it. Okay, I'm gonna go and say my third, but Pikmin was my 2.
Yes,
so this is how we're gonna do it. My third is Pizza Tower. Pizza Tower is another. It's interesting, right? I for a long time didn't play Pizza Tower because I was really off put by how it looks. Frankly, and I had to play on a PC, which is already a hurdle for me. But Pizza Tower is one of the craziest feeling platformers ever created. It's like Sonic on crack.
Sure.
It's all about fucking momentum and speed, but Peppino his body feels like it exists more as a jelly than as a solid.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. You ever played Jelly Car?
I've not played Jelly Car.
It's a mobile game.
Sure. In Pizza Tower, you can fucking smash this guy against the floor and skid for a mile. You can run straight up the face of a wall.
He's got a great crouching animation.
He's got a great crouching animation. It's just so ridiculously fast. Even though you're totally in control, you feel like you're being dragged along by like your fucking belt loops, right? Mm-hmm. So the feel of the game, I think, is excellent. It is the sort of high energy take on the Wario Land 4, Wario Land Shake It Escape concept that I think I've always wanted.
Yeah.
And then I really do have to say that the aesthetic grew on me.
Sure.
When you're playing the game and there's a TV monitor in the corner of the screen showing Peppino's eyes bulging out of his fucking head because he's running at Mach 16 through a level, and there's all these weird little mice in these strange like title cards. It's this sort of internet meme humor game that I don't like.
Yeah.
So the fact that I loved it is very cool. It's a testament to the work of a very, very small team.
Yeah.
This has been a passion project for so long.
Yeah.
And the fact that
these people really love pizza.
They
really love pizza.
It just converges in this amazing platformer, and it has what, in my opinion, is the best soundtrack of the year by a fucking mile. It's an incredible OST. So Pizza Tower totally blew me away. I almost didn't play it at all, but I'm glad that I did because I just loved it. Your number 2?
My number 2. Pikmin 4, I put my hand in my head because it was so crazy. It doesn't make sense. I messed it up. No, that's how good. That's how good Pikmin 4 is.
Yeah.
But Final Fantasy 16 is even better because even though Pikmin 4, I don't need to besmirch Pikmin 4. It's my number 3.
Love Final Fantasy 16.
I love Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
I played Final Fantasy VII. I played Final Fantasy VI. I think those are both amazing games. Final Fantasy VI, I talked about a couple years ago on exactly this list, and I was like, look, that's one of the greatest games I've ever played. But being in on the ground floor of a Final Fantasy game where the narrative hasn't settled yet on what is this game like? How do people approach it?
Yeah.
Who are these characters? What is the world? Things of other Final Fantasy games feel like kind of just cultural knowledge of, oh, the world of Midgar is so amazing. And Cloud Strife is a great character. And like playing that game, like, yeah, it's cool. But like, I feel like I've already like been taught all this stuff. So there's not really an element of surprise of me going into that game. And of course, there's plenty of other Final Fantasy games where I'm like, okay, yeah, people like the world design of 10, but maybe the combat's not the greatest, and 13 is too linear. Like, I feel like I know all these games.
How about Type 0?
I know nothing about that game. But Final Fantasy 16, being in on the ground floor and being able to experience it unfettered from decades of experience that all the other games have and conversation was just a injection of a new franchise into me that I'm like hungry for now. Every time I step into a world of Final Fantasy, though there's a game called World of Final Fantasy that I don't really have much of an interest in playing. Every time I think about stepping to one of these games, I much like a Souls game, I get like my bones start like vibrating, like, oh yeah, this is sick, this is awesome, I can't wait. And Final Fantasy 16 is really what catalyzed that for me, because Final Fantasy has always been about pushing hardware, pushing spectacle, pushing things to their greatest level of fidelity and really wowing you. And we've gotten Red Dead 2, we've gotten God of War, we've gotten Breath of the Wild, we've gotten Spider-Man.
We got Chameleon Twist.
We got Chameleon Twist even. But Final Fantasy 16, even from the first trailer where you see all these particle effects, and you're like, why is there so many fucking particle effects? Like, slow down.
Yeah.
But that's because the fucking team that made this game, Creative Business Unit 3, which is the worst. It's the worst name.
Is there a Creative Business 1? Unit 1 and 2?
There are. But I don't know what games they make.
Yeah.
Creative Business Unit 3, again, one of the worst names for a dev team ever made. Knew that we played God of War, knew that this spectacle and this kind of combat has been done before in Devil May Cry 5, which people love.
Same combat director.
Yeah. And they were like, look, these other games do this spectacle and these set piece moments, great. But what if the boss fights were the size of planets? Yeah. And what if you were playing as a guy that was the size of a planet, and you were smashing things, and the particle effects and the grand orchestral music that Final Fantasy has been known for are all hitting simultaneously to create some of the most visceral, spectacular moments you've ever experienced in a video game. When you're fighting Dion as Bahamut in space, you're in fucking space, and you are playing as a guy that is 1,000 feet tall, and your brother is also a guy that's 1,000 feet tall, and you're in space, and the Earth is tiny behind you, and the laser is shooting, the epic music is swelling. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And those are some of the greatest single moments in video games I've ever played. Multiple boss fights. Every boss fight's so different. They all hit at the exact right moment in the narrative. But it also is a game about the small moments. The biggest thing this game has been docked for is its side quests. And most of them are pretty bad. They're, go get the sand from the hill over there, because I need sand. And you walk over the hill and you pick it up. It's like, ding, you got one sand. You go hand to the guy. He's like, thanks. Here's 20 coins. And you're like, what the fuck was that? But once you get through all of those tedium, not very well designed side quests, I found some side quests in here that were some of the best I'd ever experienced in terms of culmination of story moments, exploring interesting themes. This game has a world that forces you to reconcile with prejudice and social issues.
Probably hard for you to do that.
Very difficult, but this game actually made it happen. And just a phenomenal cast. The Clive Rosfield, I made so much fun of, because I'm like, this motherfucker's name is Clive. Why did you name the character Clive? It's the worst character name out of. Right. They've got Lightning, they've got Vaughn, they've got Zidane, they've got all these awesome names. Terra, Cloud Strife, that's an awesome name. Clive. But Clive Rosfield and everyone around him are some of my favorite video game characters ever now. The passion. What's it? Ben Starr. I almost forgot his name. The passion that Ben Starr puts into this performance that is gruff and
tumble
throughout the. I almost didn't like it, but the layers of Clive's personality and care for others that you come to experience over the course of the game are like, they just make my heart melt. I mean, the moments between him and the supporting cast are just like. I think that the cast of this game is really special. And it's especially impressive because you don't play as any of them. You only play as one of them. Yeah. I mean, I guess you unlock the powers of some of the other ones, because Clive is Mega Man, and that's kind of awesome, where he can unlock the powers of all the different, I can't remember the names.
The icons.
The icons. You're a fucking smartass. I love you. Final Fantasy XVI is just amazing. I mean, it's gorgeous. The score's phenomenal. The characters are amazing. The combat is really, really interesting. The exploration is not particularly rewarding, but you're in these amazing set pieces and locations with amazing story going on. I'm like, I just want to be here forever. Yeah. And I even might play DLC that comes to it. I might. You might. Wait. There already was DLC and I didn't play it.
Yeah, but it's not like the main story expansion yet.
I might play that.
Sure.
I love this fucking game. It's a fucking masterpiece.
I have like no interest in Final Fantasy beyond specific games, but this is one that I have a lot of interest in that I will play at some point. If it's compatible with Steam Deck when it comes to Steam Deck.
It probably will be. I mean, all these big devs are putting out their games, and Steam Deck is a big part of it now, so they'll make it work.
But I really would like to play it. Yeah, I really would. But now it's time for both of our number one games. My number one game.
Nintendo's fucking crazy.
Guys, folks, I lied to you. My number one game is Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Holy shit, what a game. Goddamn.
This is also my favorite game on Nintendo Switch.
Sure.
This is my favorite Mario game.
Goddamn.
This is one of my favorite games ever. I think this is one of the greatest games Nintendo's ever made. I think that this game, it just is a little package of all the things I love about Nintendo. But the one thing that I love most about Nintendo is the joy or wonder intrinsic to the way they create and what they create. Yeah. And few games make me as happy as Super Mario Wonder does. Yeah. And I think that that's hard to do. I think that it's hard to take me, who is very jaded about basically everything, games included.
And games especially, actually.
Games especially.
Yeah. I actually usually am more jaded about games than anything else.
Probably. Yeah. And make me so childlike in just
you wet your pants.
I did. Pretty much every time I started
You were
the game.
sucking your thumb. You turned on the nightlight.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I just think that this game embodies Nintendo.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely does. 100%.
And the ways that they take the mascot of Mario, a character that frankly is not even probably in my top Nintendo characters.
No. He's probably my bottom Nintendo characters.
Yeah.
I don't care about Mario. He's not a character. He's just a fucking animated thing.
I just think that what the game does for Mario in the way he moves, in the places he goes, in the creatures he meets, in the power-ups he gets, I think it's a revelation for the character.
Absolutely.
And I think that it reconnects me to New Super Mario Brothers DS, which is the game that made me fall in love with Nintendo back when I was a young kid. It reconnects me to that, but it doesn't rely on that nostalgia. You know, I talk to some people who are older than me who are like, this game isn't Super Mario World. You know, it lacks dimensions that Super Mario World lacks, and I think that's true, but I think that it's intentional, because I think that what Wonder does is it remembers what made Mario great all this time, but also realizes that it's
time to move forward.
It's time to move forward.
Yeah.
And I think that the way they move forward is by illustrating that Nintendo is just operating on an entirely different plane than anybody else in the industry.
Yep.
The fact that they could take as much time as they want to come up with as many ideas as they want and then put them into... I mean, I played the game for 20 hours because I 100%ed it, but probably a 6-8 hour campaign is astounding. This is the best. These are some of the best people working in games, taking only their very best ideas across the finish line.
And they could have done more. I mean, can you imagine everything left on the cutting room floor? Yeah. This game could be double its length, and it would be worse for it. Yeah. Because the idea that Wonder is so condensed with ideas and only the best quality ideas is what makes it as much of an achievement as it is. Every other dev would say, no, we want them to spend 20 hours in this to beat it. Yeah. And it's okay if some of the ideas aren't great because they're one in the sea of millions. But this is one in a sea of thousands, but every one of those thousands is not equally as great. There are some ideas that aren't as good, but like they're all a bar of quality that few teams touch.
Few teams touch this. Few teams touch this polish. Few teams touch this joy. Yeah. This level of animation. This density of new ideas.
Yeah. Mario's an elephant now.
I love Elephant Mario.
Where's the amiibo?
I'm so sad about that.
It's genuinely sad.
I would love a Mario.
Genuinely fucking depressing.
But I was smitten by this game. It's staggering. It is what everybody says of the Switch generation. It is the reinvention of a series, and I think it is done to such an inordinate degree of quality. Inordinate degree of quality. I mean,
I'm so glad they didn't ordinate.
No. I could just be effusive in my praise of this game for hours, so I'll just stop by saying that I like it.
That's good. But they also put out Tears of the Kingdom this year, and even though I love Super Mario Bros. Wonder, unfortunately that's a 2D platformer, and and Tears of the Kingdom is an open world action game.
Fair enough.
And just do the math, But Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is for me Wonder is for you, and that is the greatest thing about this year is that we both love Pikmin. We love all three of these games. We both love all three of these games. We both think that Pikmin 4 is one of the best games that ever made. And then you have Wonder and I have Tears of the Kingdom, and they all came out in the same year. Yeah. I mean, the fact that we have both these games is in one generation.
They came out within 5 months of each other.
Nintendo is doing what everyone else don't.
Yeah.
Put that on the box of the next console. Tears of the Kingdom, when I say it is for me what Wonder is for you, it is my favorite game of the Switch generation. It is my favorite game in its series. It is one of my favorite games of all time, in that it took what I loved so much about Breath of the Wild and made me fall in love with the Switch and with Zelda and with Nintendo's new style of open world design, and says we don't have to just do this again. It looks like we're doing it. It looks like we're just doing it again, but of course we're not. I think the best thing about Tears of the Kingdom is the balance in the familiarity with the world of Hyrule that you'd explored once before, and the fact that they recognize that through some ways that some of the characters are portrayed, and through the way that you're revisiting certain areas, which recontextualizes them in really fun ways. But also the fact that even though it's the similar map in similar locations, It doesn't feel that way at all. The fact that you are traversing 3 different layers of this map, and the fact that you have a whole new set of mechanics to play with Ultra Hand, and with Fuse, and with Ascend and Rewind. Every one of the elements this game adds could be its own game.
Yeah.
There could be a Depths Zelda game, and that's the game.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would love it, but I think it would be a very interesting idea for a game. But let's just put that down there. Let's add the Skylines. That's a fun little bonus. Just a little thing. And then Ultra Hand could be its own game, and Ascend could be its own game, and Rewind could be its own game, and Fuse could be its own game. But these are all put into a game that was already fantastic. I just think magnified, because I'm the kind of person that wants my favorite games to be made obsolete. I played Breath of the Wild, and I heard they were making another game, and I was like, yeah, we'll see. But then when I played Tears of the Kingdom, and I realized I actually like Breath of the Wild less because of it, it isn't because Breath of the Wild is a worse game, but because I didn't realize what it was missing.
Sure.
Because I had never experienced it before. And so with a more intricate combat with Fuse, the fact that you can use like infinite kinds of weapons now, the fact that the story is more compelling, as you were saying, the dungeons are better designed, the enemy variety is like tripled. It's still amazing, but it's tripled from what it was before. Even better boss fights. And you can make a fucking car out of logs. And you can make a penis out of logs. You can make a plane out of logs. You can make a Batmobile out of logs. Sure. And
you can make a fucking mech that you jump into and fight people with.
This game is an achievement unlike anything else that has come from the games industry. I think that Nintendo challenged themselves, and the Zelda's team challenges themselves to say, what if we were doing something that no one had thought about before?
Yeah.
And that's where the best and most revolutionary ideas come from in the games industry. And Wonder is one of those. Wonder Flowers, and the fact that it changed the level around you and makes there be like 2 levels in one, is one of those no one's ever done this before ideas. And you can feel that exact same passion put into Tears of the Kingdom, where they're just trying something and then polishing it up. There's nothing in this game that feels like, oh, it's a half-assed idea just thrown in there. Everything works. It runs smoothly. The game doesn't fucking break, even though it's doing things that should not be possible on a technical level.
Yeah.
And on 7-year-old hardware in terms of how long we've had it, but like 9-year-old hardware in terms of how long the chips are. It's a fucking it's a staggering achievement.
The other thing that's amazing about Tears of the Kingdom is that it's one of those Nintendo games that breaks through.
Yeah.
There's for as much as we laud Nintendo, there's a large portion of the industry that does not give a fuck about anything they do.
Yeah.
It does not appreciate what Pikmin 4 accomplished. Doesn't even appreciate what Mario Wonder accomplishes.
Yeah.
But Tears of the Kingdom steps into this space that is understandable to people who play on Xbox and play on PC and play on PlayStation, and is extremely attractive.
Stadia and Ouya.
Yeah. Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are Nintendo stepping into this more traditional...
What about someone who only plays on Analog Pocket? I don't think they would really...
No, they're too much of a hipster.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom steps into, as Breath of the Wild did, steps into this Western design philosophy, and it just does it better.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if I prefer Breath of the Wild, I still think Tears of the Kingdom is a better open-world third-person action game than basically all other open-world third-person action games. So I think that that's cool. I think that Nintendo's year in I maintain that 2023 has been Nintendo's best year ever.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think for me, part of the reason is because they spoke to so many different audiences.
Sure.
They're not only speaking to your interests versus my interests, but speaking to the interests of the hardcore Nintendo fans and the general games
and the
community.
Detective Pikachu fans.
And the Detective Pikachu fans who got, like Miranda Sanchez, who works for IGN, who has been talking for years about wanting Detective Pikachu returns. She got it. But Nintendo, I mean, it's crazy what they did this year.
And they also did it on a system where they'd already done these things before.
Yeah.
We got Breath of the Wild, and then a couple years later, they're like, we're doing a sequel to that. And everyone's like, oh god. Oh shit, that's crazy. Yeah. But then they took forever. It's like, where's the fucking game, guys? But then we played the game and we're like, oh no, they needed that long. Like, you couldn't just whip up Ultra Hand, and the fact that you can jump from the skylines to the depths in one continuous thing, the game's a break, that you couldn't just do that in a couple years. And so the fact that they can take their time because they're so financially well off right now, the fact that they are willing to make a sequel to Breath of the Wild is already something crazy for Nintendo. And the fact that, again, we're 7 years into the console, we got the innovative Mario game, we got the innovative Zelda game, and they just gave us some again, and in some ways better, and in some ways the other games are better, and all 4 of these games are in conversation.
Yeah.
And we got Pikmin 4 this year. What the fuck?
I was asking, where's the game, guys? You were asking, where's the guy game?
I was asking, how's the game, guys?
Let's just be clear. Just one final thing about Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
The fact that you can leap off of a sky island and land on Hyrule, and it's a contiguous experience. There's no loading screens, and the game chugs like a little bit, and then it's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any fucking sense. I just the last thing.
And it'll be even better when they do the 4K patch.
Right on Switch 2.
The 4K 120 FPS Switch 2 patch.
Since Switch 2 is launching in summer,
yeah.
There's only maybe 5 months to wait until we're playing the 4K version of Tears of the Kingdom.
That's insane.
Well, actually, I don't know if they'd launched the 4K patch Tears of the Kingdom the same time they launched the Ocarina of Time remake.
And, of course, Realm of the Ramen Warrior.
Realm of the Ramen Warrior. Most anticipated game in 2024.
We could stand to be more intimate. Yeah. There we go.
I think we should turn towards each other a little bit.
Yeah.
We're addressing you, I'm addressing them, I'm addressing the court.
This chair's gonna fall apart.
We'll fix it.
Yeah, this one's way less stable. What
Yeah.
the fuck happened?
I don't know. We'll flip it over. We'll flip it over. We'll pound it. Flip and pound. I know that's your
the
maneuver.
old flip and pound. The LF and P.